a dream that's never been. Filed another case, he's losing ground. Can't stop wheels from spinning round. He's got minions on his side, no prayer. Still fighting on, it's just a nightmare. Pull him up, you're making it worse. Endless motions, pocket full of curse. YouTube hits, but your soul's in chains. Protracting pain, multiplying shame. Pull him up, can't you see? You're drowning in your own hypocrisy. Every case is a money grab. Put it on the tube, that's the only tab. Litigation game, no need to win. Just drag it out and reel them in. Twist the law, break the rules. He's playing games, but he's just a fool. Pull him up, you're making it worse. Endless motions, pocket full of curse. YouTube hits, but your soul's in chains. Protracting pain, multiplying shame. Pull him up, can't you see? You're drowning in your own hypocrisy. Every motion's just for show. Filing papers, moving slow. Courtrooms a circus, all a game. But in the end, who is to blame? Sick of the noise, sick of the lies. The case is dead, he'll never realize. Pull him up, you're making it worse. Endless motions, pocket full of curse. YouTube hits, but your soul's in chains. Protracting pain, multiplying shame. Pull him up, can't you see? You're drowning in your own hypocrisy. On the case another day. Will the judge care the sky's gone gray? Pull him up, it's all a trap. You're digging your hole, fall in that gap. Pull him up, your time's all spent. Lost in the game, no way to repent. Mommy didn't love you enough, germ. Too bad, not sad. Pull him up. Pull him up.
Wow. What is that, Tori?
That is a catchy tune.
Holy 80s. I loved it.
I was dancing in my
for some of y'all out there. I just received this a little bit ago, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, all right, that's the intro. That's the intro. So I think we got to like.
Hughes loved it.
I loved it. I think it was groovy. Well, guys, we have some guests tonight again. We're going to welcome here Michael Volpe and Rich Luthmann. Here we go. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
What is happening, guys? Surprise. Everybody had such a blast with you guys last night, so I know that they're pretty excited that you're here tonight, too.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll try to be as lively as we were last night. That should be easy for me because I was subdued, but Rick, you're going to be able to be lively again? Because, wow.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm back from Hollywood Beach. And I'm in my robe, my Vinny the Chin Gigante, federal court edition, malingering, insanity defense robe. So this is, classic. It's a classic New York apparel, actually.
All right. Are we going to get a little bit more, I don't know, attitude from you than you're giving right now? Because yesterday, or last night, you were in a zone.
They gave me the Haitian firewater last night. I was all fucked. What the hell they gave me? They were shit glass. I was drinking it. You got a nice woman with your big bazongas and a red, shirt and everything else, pouring stuff. You drink it. That's just how it is.
All right.
Hold on a second, guys. Here we go. We got Kendra. Kendra's here tonight.
Hello.
Michael and Rich, this is my cousin Kendra.
Hello.
So surprise everybody. Everybody loves when Kendra's on here as well.
Okay.
So
very exciting. Are we going to get into the meat of the program, or do you want to introduce other people? You want
no, well, the only person that
about doing Kendra when you guys are like 9? What happened when you were little kids? It's like a Stand By Me type story. Did you guys go find a dead body?
No, we don't talk about where the bodies are buried.
Right.
No. Uncle Tom's cabin.
Uncle Tom's cabin. All right.
Do we even have an Uncle Tom, actually? Somewhere down the line.
Maybe.
Somewhere down the line. Maybe. Anyway. So the only other person that's going to be coming on tonight is Robbie, and he usually gets here a little later. So, yeah, we want to just... Where do you want to start? I mean, Michael, do you want to talk about your article? Should we start there?
So, I got an article up probably about an hour ago, and it's on the Frank Report. So before I talk about the article, Frank Report is run by Frank Parlato, who broke Nexim, NXIVM, which is kind of a big deal.
Huge deal.
So, investigative reporter, I first met him in 2022 because he was doing some work on a case out of Connecticut, Karen Riordan, and Karen contacted me, and I did a few articles on it as well. And so I thought his website would be a good place to get an article up about Megan. And Richard helped me behind the scenes.
Did.
He should get like an editor byline, but he'll get one with us. But there is no byline for him on Frank's website because Frank is mean to him.
Mike, I'm already being sued, so it doesn't matter. Getting an editor credit doesn't get me closer. This will get you closer to getting sued.
The article is about the transformation that I've seen from Megan Fox, the dogged investigative journalist I used to know for 10 years, to the exploitative content creator who focuses on clicks over anything else. So if you want to scroll through the article, you can, but let me just tell it.
Well, I figured I'll just show it and I'll post the link in the chat if people want to, and I'll put it on the description as well. But if you want me to go through it,
they're really good.
Yeah. Well, we don't need you can scroll through it, but let me just tell the story, and it's going to be kind of like the article, but not exactly, because Frank edited it. So on Frank Report, you'll get like the way that Frank edited it, which is a good way. But on your show, on Two Lees in a Pod, let me just tell the story the way I would tell it. So
go ahead.
When Megan and I worked together, one of the first stories that both of us wrote about was Angela Freiners. So Megan and I started working together because I got this crazy Zoom conference of nearly 40 corrupt guardian ad litem. And I released that right away. But right after I released that, I got an audio recording that I believe was made by the 14-year-old. But there was a 14-year-old and her mother in court, and then the lawyer for the dad. And her mother's name is Angela Freiner. And the judge's name is Nicole Zellweger. And Judge Zellweger was just insisting that this girl go live with her father. And the girl says, but you can't send me to go live with my father. He molests me. And the judge just didn't believe her. And so here's part of the audio. And the girl goes, I still don't understand. I told you that he was touching me, and you're still going to make me go with him. And Judge Zellweger actually had the nerve to say, there's no evidence. The girl is in court testifying, and she says there's no evidence. So this judge sends this girl. She didn't even send the girl to her father because that wouldn't have worked out. So she sends her to this mental hospital, and from there to some sort of woods retreat type place, and then to her father. So she was trafficking her. And Angela was dumbfounded, and she did something I'd say foolish. And so she sends the judge an email that was ex parte and it just wasn't wise. But let me read it to you. The court does not have the right to hold my daughter against her will or traffic her across the country. If she is not returned to me today, there will be consequences for your conduct. You stepped over the line for any type of immunity as a judge. So there will be consequences. Judge Selwiger sent that to the cops, and the cops had her arrested. And
Wow.
the only local coverage, this all happens in St. Louis County, was Joel Courier at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, who he did print the email. But the cops or whoever sent him a press release, and he just rewrote the press release, changed a few words here and there, and he completely, the context was totally lost. He said nothing about the girl disclosing, nothing about being sent to the psych ward, nothing about them switching custody on the fly. And people close to Angela reached out to the guy or tried to reach out to him. I don't think he spoke to any of them, and begged him, talk to us, talk to Angela. You'll understand there's more to this story. Your audience deserves to know the whole truth. And he refused to do that. And Megan and I both called him out. We both sent him emails and said, you can't do this. There's all of this context. And we would make fun of people like him. We would criticize people like him. We would expose people like him. And we'd scrutinize people like him. And now she's worse than him. What she's doing is not just as bad as Courier. It's worse. She went and got somebody as an anonymous source say that Michelle Preston is faking her daughter's disorder. It's not real. I know my son has the same thing. Total BS. And based on that, anonymous source suggested, without saying the word, but suggested she had Munchausen. It's as bad as anything that Joel Courier did ever. Just as bad when Shockett for Hales civil case deposes Amanda Martin, who has nothing to do with the case. He deposed her because he doesn't like her, and then he could humiliate her, and he could create a bunch of YouTube content, and he'll make a ton of money. That's the only reason he deposed her. He didn't even, when this came up, Shockett didn't even try to pretend like this had anything to do with the underlying case. That's what Megan and I would call out in 2021, 2022. That you're using this deposition just to humiliate someone. That's not what a deposition for. You're a scumbag lawyer. That's what Megan and I would have said. What does Megan do? At least two that I found. She does videos mocking and humiliating Amanda Martin. And oh my God, what a shocking deposition. And it's only shocking if you treat this case like it's a soap opera. There's nothing related to, it's not like Amanda Martin had secret evidence that Michelle and John wrote the signs. She didn't have that. She didn't know anything about the signs, except for what she saw from Jeremy Hales, which doesn't help the case at all. She doesn't know anything about the extortion. She doesn't know anything about any of the charges. She was involved in the protective order, which has nothing to do with this, except that it's the same people, but different set of facts. That's what Megan would have called out. Instead, she's contributing to the humiliation. Megan stood up for the bullied. Who is she standing up for now? The bullied. Listen, we would go over depositions. I don't think we ever watched a deposition from start to finish. If we were examining a deposition, if it was mine, I would go to the, I'm not going to read a 3-hour deposition. That sounds boring. Well, here's an important part, and I'd read that important part. Now, what does she do? She, like in a joking manner, constantly reads that one deposition or watches the video of that one deposition that Michelle had. One time she was doing yoga, like totally ludicrous.
Laughing at her, mocking her. Yeah, I remember that.
Never did. The people we mocked, number one, deserved it, but it was either lawyers taking advantage of the system, judges taking advantage of the system, therapists taking advantage of the systems, or abusive or neglectful parents taking advantage of the system. Wouldn't mock someone simply to mock them. And we didn't go after people just to go after them. None of that we did. The thing with Hales' protective order, 4 years ago, she would have called out that this guy first went to Florida, and when he couldn't get it, he went to a ringer judge in Ohio. That's what she would call out. Now she's constantly, he can do this. He's got a protective order. She knows that's a bogus protective order. This is the change is absolutely remarkable. And she's completely transformed herself from an honest and ethical person to just a slimy lowlife. And
how do you really feel, Mike?
it's sad. I knew her when she was trying hard, but it's also a reflection of society. This is the YouTube culture. Rich said I need to say the social media culture because it's not.
It's the social media culture. It's not just YouTube. It's every social media platform.
Social media values engagement and clicks, and to get engagement and clicks, you have to be titillating and provocative.
And outrageous, not honest. Honesty, digging deep aren't requirements. They're often hindrances if you're trying to be successful on social media. And that's it's also a reflection on society that when Megan was doing it right, she wasn't making nearly as much money. So she is a capitalist in many ways, but she's responsible for her choices, and she's definitely very unethical. But to defend her, being ethical didn't seem to have the same economic benefit as being unethical. And that's a reflection of our society. So it is sad. There's two mutual contacts that we have that each said words to the effect of, I'm sure you two will work it out someday. And I screamed at both of them. So this is a lot more personal than I probably realize or have processed myself what's happened. Well, Mike, if you were to turn around tomorrow and say, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, I was wrong.
I would forgive her. I'm from the John Travolta school from Pulp Fiction. If you apologize, you're immediately I'd forgive her, but how could I be friends with her? She puts out things that are lies about what happened between us. She claims that I betrayed her. She knows I didn't betray her. She claims that I'm jealous of her. She knows I'm not jealous of her. She claims to be mad that I hooked up with my girlfriend and got her pregnant. She's not mad. She's known about that since 2022. She decided conveniently to get mad when she noticed that I was going to write about the same case. That's when she got mad about it. How can I trust her in a friendship? She's dishonest about things directly related. This is probably a character flaw. If this was strictly about John Cook and Michelle Preston in this case, and she was covering it in a way that I disagreed with, a way that I thought was unethical, we could be friends. I would call her out, and as long as it never got personal, and look, that's the way it's supposed to be in this business. If you're friends with someone and you're writing something and you write it one way and they write it another way, you can't take that personally. You'll never have any friends. Nobody's going to agree with you 100% of the time. Do you know, Richard, do you know how many times we've debated like this or that policy? If every time,
every time we're on the air, we take different sides.
We wouldn't be friends because he believes this about that immigrant or this about that war.
Well, the perfect example is, for example, we have a segment on the show where Mike finds a damaging article about a Trump appointee,
and you defend it.
I don't even know what he's going to put up, but I defend the Trump appointee because that's what I do. That's how I roll.
And look, here's the thing. Like, let's take that article about the rapist from Ohio.
Jeremy? Litigation privilege.
No. I think it was 2022 or maybe 2023. There was a story put out by an abortion doctor that she had like a 12-year-old come in and she couldn't give her an abortion, and something bad happened. And Megan immediately started speculating that the story was made up. And she speculated because she reached out to all like law enforcement that would be involved and asked them to confirm it. Nobody would confirm it. So she wasn't just picking it up out of the sky. But if I had started covering that and I started saying, no, I think it's probably real. Do you think she'd stop being friends with me? I doubt it. So the way she's treating this is she treats this in a way that no journalist has ever treated any other story. that it's so personal. How dare you cross me and cover it in a way that I don't approve of.
Right, and then put you into the whole smear campaign.
Right. And look, she has absolutely co-opted these smear merchants, these astroturfers like Jay Hip, Rosalind Duke, Mary, whatever her name is Rogue Mama. There's like a bunch of internet characters, and they all have different jobs. Like Jay's job is to sometimes email me and then put out videos mocking me and Richard. Rosalind Duke, her job is to find anything I put on social media and immediately write a negative comment along with putting out videos mocking me. And this Mary lady, Mary Lincoln's, apparently her job is to constantly email me. It's crazy. But, you know, when I attack Megan, I don't even, you know, I do it myself. And can I say something? Hey, Megan, if you watch this, I promise to stop telling the truth about you as soon as you and your minions stop lying about me. Is that a deal?
Oh, good line, Mike. I like that one.
There you go.
So, you know, she puts, and you know, I put out substantive articles that show her unethical nature. You know what she does? She finds some idiot like Jay Hip to make fun of me. I mean, you know, and she promoted, this guy had no YouTube channel. He's got like 2,500 subscribers because she constantly promotes him. You know, that's not a quid pro quo. She didn't say, go mock Mike Volpe and I'll promote your channel. And in about 6 months, you'll be making money as a YouTuber. Please. Like, it's blatantly
well, he didn't have that many a couple weeks ago.
Right. It's around there. But the reason that he has any kind of a subscriber base is because she promotes him. And the reason she's got 50,000 subscribers is because Jeremy Hales promotes her. The whole thing is like a multi-level marketing scheme.
A conspiracy?
A multi-level marketing, like Jeremy's at the top, and you know it filters down from the top to the bottom. And, like a multi-level, like any other multi-level marketing scheme. But it definitely is sad to see what she's turned into.
Well, the biggest, Mike, that we've talked about it a lot. The biggest scumbag move that she's done is she's basically, and what she's done to you is one thing, but what she's doing to the victims of the family court stories that you reported on together. By being petty, because she's taking them down. She's taking down all the good work that you did, exposing victims of family court injustice. And because of your little petty squabble, she's hurting the stories, hurting the victims, you know, silencing them, basically. That's the real disgrace in this whole thing.
It is. So from early 2021, we just called it a live stream. We actually never gave it a name, to early 2022. We did a live stream where we would talk about the stories we're covering and other family court related stories. And a few of them are still up, but she's removed almost all of them. And it is like a petty squabble between me and her. And we interviewed a lot of family court victims. We talked about family court cases. We interviewed a woman named Liz Perkins, who writes for the Daily Express in England, who's won awards, including an award for her work on family court in England. We interviewed Grant Wyeth, an Australian journalist. I don't know if he's won awards. And we interviewed Brian Ludmer, a lawyer from Canada. And the only video that's still up is the one of Grant. So, you know, that's like mind-boggling. Me and her interviewed Liz Perkins, and here we are, two American journalists going back and forth with a British journalist about the similarities and differences in the family court systems in these two countries. You would think that would be something you'd be proud of, and you'd want to keep that on the internet. You'd want as many people as possible to see that, to show the level of sophistication you are as a journalist. No, she removed that. And, you know, I don't know if Liz knows, or probably Liz doesn't care because it's 4 years later and she's done 5 million interviews since then. But, you know, what did Liz do to you? Why'd you remove it? You know, if Liz finds out, well, she's going to maybe think, well, what did I do wrong? Because she doesn't know we got some petty squabble. Ludmer, neither one of us liked him, but you know, the same thing. Like, why'd you remove it? And she removed. We did interviews with a woman named Avita Tolu. Her story is the one that triggered all of it. The reason there was a Zoom conference is because Avita sued the main person in the Zoom conference, Elaine Podlowski, and you removed your interview with her. There's a few interviews with her. One of them she didn't remove, but why?
Right.
Do that. And Richard and I interviewed her too, but we interviewed Lindy Morelli, who's blind. She's not exactly a nun. She's similar to a nun, but she goes to prisons and advocates for the wrongfully convicted and advocates for the properly convicted. A blind woman going into prison and trying to make friends with the prisoners. You know how much of a good person you gotta be to do that on a regular basis. And what did Lindy do to you? Nothing.
Right.
Why did you remove that interview? Every single interview we did, basically not all of them, but 95% of them. Yeah. I was contacted by Rohini Hughes, who's one of the victims we interviewed. She's terminal with cancer. And I gave her Megan's email address. I was like, well, it's Megan's thing. I can't put it up. And she didn't respond to her. That's how little Megan cares about the people she needs to help.
So this article you did on the Frank Report, from journalist to clickbait hit woman, Megan Fox exploiting a sick child for views. And it says your former friend from Justice Crusaders, your clickbait queen.
Yeah.
I'm going to post a link in the chat. So, and I will put it on the description of tonight's.
Everybody should share, not just read it, but share it. And Frank's website is pretty big, so this isn't going to be a few hundred people. This will be 10 to 20,000 people, hopefully reading it. And especially if you guys.
It'll be more than that because of the Google rankings there.
Right.
Like I'm telling you now. Remember when J Hip went crazy about where are the Google rankings?
Right.
This is going to show up in the Google rankings for Megan Fox. This will definitely show up in the Google rankings, probably for Jeremy Hales and for some of the others, because the Frank Report is one of the top, most powerful domain authorities. And if you don't know anything about the internet is based on like what's called domain authority. So if you were like absolute authority, if you were like the White House gets like a 98 domain authority, because once they put it out, everybody has to know what the White House says. Frank Report is basically close to a 60. And to give you an idea of what a 60 is on par with Blaze News, Huffington Post, and some of those outlets that you've heard of.
Right.
Like New York Times is like about a 70. New York Post is like a 70.
So
it's here just below
all
that.
all the names in this article are going to show up high on searches from Google and other places. So
if you go to Google News, it's probably already on Google News. The only problem we have is Megan Fox gets confused with Megan Fox, the actress.
Right.
Right.
But Jeremy Hales will totally be on this. So when they came back and they said, nobody, it's on the websites, nobody really cares, nobody sees it, Google doesn't see it. Google's going to see this. And Google sees all the other stuff we write, me and Mike write on Substack, and we put on other things. But this is just that much more powerful because it's such a higher domain authority.
Right.
Right.
And look, we're just getting started. So, they have an advantage because Jeremy has a very significant subscriber base that's very hard to match. But that's a deficit, but it's not that hard to overcome.
But that's a different kind of advantage. He's got a YouTube advantage, but I think overall media, we have the media advantage because I don't think Jeremy can write outside of Crayola, in the English language. So
right. Well,
we're going to communicate with people.
Jeremy can't go to the New York Times because even the New York Times would see right through him. So if you wanted him to write an article, it wouldn't be the article.
He can't write a regular article. He couldn't write a freaking newsletter to supporters.
Don't you know who I am?
Does she know who I am?
Can you imagine that? He'd go up there. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am? I'm famous. You should let me write an article. I'm famous. I'm Jeremy Hales. I'm so famous.
Right.
All right. So everybody should go check out this article and share it. And I'll put it in the descriptions and a post up for it as well as because you guys have your podcast tomorrow morning, right?
Right. We're gonna do a deep dive into Megan Fox and her merry band of astroturfers, as I like to call it. But listen, I wanted to give one other quick thing. I communicated with Eugene Volok about this case, so I wanted to first read what Professor Volok said, and then I'll tell you who he is. And so I'll tell you why it's not like earth-shattering, but it is noteworthy.
All right, let me just let everybody know in case they don't know, they didn't see Robbie's here. So say hi to Robbie.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
What's up, Robbie?
All right, so I sent Professor Volpe the amended complaint that Shockett filed, I think either today or yesterday. So, because, well, I'll tell you why after I read what he wrote. Thanks. I've been tracking the case, but frivolous lawsuits or frivolous parts of legit lawsuits are a dime a dozen. I'll likely wait on this until there's a court decision. So he seems to think this is frivolous. Professor Volpe is one of the foremost experts on the First Amendment.
Really?
I thought he'd be interested in it because I think this lawsuit is an end run around the First Amendment. By the way,
you got to fuck him up. He was a clerk at the United States Supreme Court for Sandra Day O'Connor.
He's a very big deal in the First
Amendment. Writing on First Amendment, Second Amendment, Bill of Rights type issues, personal freedom issues. And when he says something on the First Amendment, like the Supreme Court justices take note of it, and they consider some of the arguments that he makes. That's how big of a guy he is.
He's been cited in a lot of different important federal and state First Amendment primarily cases all over the country.
His scholarly work, but he does what's called amicus work, meaning that if he sees a case, usually in an appellate situation, and a lot of times
amicus means friend of the court.
Yeah.
So that's when you're not a part of the lawsuit, but you agree with one side. So you present a motion or a brief in support of the argument made by one or the other.
Or you want to present just a specific issue or a specific point of view that's relevant to the legal decision. So and he does that a lot with appellate cases.
If you're all still confused, you're working at a very high level as a lawyer if you're doing a lot of amicus briefs.
Yeah.
So he's a very big deal, and it seems to me
he's a lot bigger of a deal than the Spacely Sprockets.
Correct. But frivolous lawsuits are, he says they're a dime a dozen. I send him an email and say, that seems like something you may want to talk about. If frivolous lawsuits are a dime a dozen, that seems to be an issue a law professor would want to take up to try to figure out how to limit them. But it seems to be suggesting that this is a frivolous lawsuit. He's just saying, well, there's so many like that. Why would I want to write about it now? I'm going to wait until a judge deems it a frivolous lawsuit. And then he writes a blog. It's at Reason, I think Reason magazine now. It's called Volpe Conspiracy, and it's VLOKH. So that's the second one. And then I wanted to read from other parts of the amended lawsuits. Let me find it.
We also want to point out that Bolitho, in his footnote in the last order he wrote, was for them to file this the amended complaint, but also mentioned the shotgun pleadings and reminded him of Rule 11, which I believe he's already been notified about as far as Shockett goes. Shockett's been notified about it. So it's already there.
So hold on. I want to get it. I went through the lawsuit as it relates to Dave Teschendorf from Milton West. And I think the allegations against Dave are the most ridiculous. And given how ridiculous some of these allegations are, that says a lot. So let me get to the pertinent part. Okay, here we go. Teschendorf is a competitor of Hales for internet sales and marketing as a host and/or operator of the YouTube channel Milltown's Best. With a current YouTube subscription base of over 1,700 people, who refers to himself as Super Dave, and other social media platforms, including but not limited to Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. Teschendorf's YouTube channel has an online store selling merchandise and also sells merchandise online via Bonfire. People who subscribe with Teschendorf's YouTube channel often pay monthly fees to Teschendorf for premium access. None of this is clear why it's important for the lawsuit, but it goes on. Teschendorf has expended and continues to expend substantial time, money, and resources into acquiring subscribers, providing ongoing programs, and maintaining relationship and goodwill with his viewers. What a terrible person for doing all of that. In a YouTube live stream on December 3rd, 2024, Teschendorf made the following statement about Hales and Mr. Hales. The fans of Hales have seen a content creator go from God-fearing Christian man who did everything for the right reasons to doing anything to win and bankrupting his opponents. He has already demonstrated his abuse of litigation by publishing a 7-hour videotape Zoom deposition of Michelle Preston. This was taken by his present counsel last January during a state court CRO action in which Ms. Preston was the plaintiff. Yeah, it's true, for the purposes of entertaining his audience by mocking and humiliating her throughout the broadcast. Yeah, he did it for almost a whole week. I don't know what part of that.
8 episodes.
Right. I don't know what part of that. I guess he's saying that the fans of Hales have seen a content creator go from God-fearing Christian man who did everything for the right reasons to doing anything to win and bankrupting his opponents. And that is an assertion or a matter of opinion and always protected. In this video, Teschendorf makes false statements about Hales that are presented in a way that imply clear factual accusations. Doesn't name the statements. Teschendorf has appeared online with Matskin, Weeks, Kesey, Raymond, thus displaying their relationship as joint tortfeasors. Once again, as he does throughout the lawsuit, the guy acts like because Dave may have you on or me on, that this is some sort of evidence of a conspiracy.
I know.
As I said, that is very slimy because it sends a message to anyone who's thinking about showing up on your program or mine or Dave's, that you'll then be considered a co-conspirator. So let's keep going. Hold on one second. All right. Why isn't it? All right. In actuality, Teschendorf's process and strategy is nothing more than a scheme to enrich himself at the expense of consumers and Hales. Once again, doesn't say how that scheme is the way that he asserts it. Raymond recommends viewers to watch the YouTube channels of Teschendorf and others, with Teschendorf and others thus displaying their relationship as joint tortfeasors. I mean, think about it. He's saying that because Ray's like, hey, you guys should watch Milltown's Best. That makes them co-conspirators. I mean, I think he actually says that. All right. The fact that one person is recommending another means that that they're co-conspirators. It's ridiculous. At all times, all defendants are actively, one, encouraging people to watch the public videos made by Weeks, Teschendorfs, and others, and two, mentioning publicly that they are reading the copycat what the Hales Facebook page. Again, I guess it's like co-conspirators because you recommend someone and you say you should check out this Facebook page. It's that ridiculous. Teschendorf and all defendants agreed to intentionally participate in a civil conspiracy among themselves with other individuals for the purpose of which was to commit, one, violations of Florida's deceptive and unfair trade practices, and he goes through the torts that he claims Teschendorf did. And then he says, throughout the course of the conspiracy, Teschendorf and all defendants are acting in concert, coordinating in furtherance of the common scheme. Teschendorf knew the scheme and assisted in it for all the acts of the defendants' conspirators, including engaging in unconscionable, unfair, and deceptive acts or practices that offend established public policies and are immoral, unethical, oppressive, unscrupulous, or substantially injurious to consumers. They're likely to deceive a consumer acting reasonably in the same circumstance. And he's liable. He agreed to launch a campaign to damage Hales as evidenced by Teschendorf's actions. Wherefore, Hales respectfully requests the court enter a judgment in his favor against Teschendorf. And think about it. He says all of these invectives, and the only evidence is that one quote from that one live stream. That's the evidence of all the invectives of Teschendorf acting in concert and being in a conspiracy, that in one live, the evidence is he recommends that you watch other people's YouTube channels and he speaks highly of other co-conspirators. I think about how sneaky this is. This is trying to send a subtle message. Don't go on Julie's. Don't go on The Unknown. Don't go on Milltown's Best. Don't talk to Ray, because if you do, you'll be considered a co-conspirator.
Right.
That subtle message.
Yet the second we all got that amendment in our hands, we all jumped on here last night.
Right. Well, Richard Luthmann was so excited he took some shots.
I was doing really good last night. I wasn't feeling any pain.
Now, are you still as excited tonight as last night that you're being sued, or are you now like, I don't really want to get sued?
No, I love being sued. I'm going to make a lot of money off of this. I'm figuring out exactly how I'm doing it. Now I'm in like my war room mode. Now I'm thinking about strategically how I'm going to extract every bit of joy out of the life of Jeremy Hales. And I have to do it methodically, step by step. That's it. It's like war council. That's what I'm doing. No, really, that's what you got to do with a guy like this, because this guy he can barely play checkers, right? So everything that they're doing is they're going one step at a time. So I've thought about 10 or 15 steps ahead. That's what I'm doing. That's what I sit around and I do. I do strategy all day long. So I'm thinking about where I'm going to get them. And I think I have them. I think I have them on a couple little points. It's going to get extremely painful for them to go forward. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it painful for them. I put out a piece today where I talked a little bit about that, where I talked about all the things that are going to happen.
I was going to save this till tomorrow, but we could talk about it tonight. I filed a bar complaint against Randall Shockett, and earlier today I sent an email. They acknowledged the email, so the bar complaint is like official. They even gave me like a bar complaint number. But if I can get it up, do you guys want me to?
Sure.
So let me try to find this thing.
Mike's a crafty one. He could say bar complaint. He does all that stuff.
I believe
I just look up pig farms. That's all I do. That's all I'm good for.
I believe that what Mr. Shockett did is like violates their canons or whatever.
Oh, whoever said that I'm a Scorpio was 100% right. I am a Scorpio.
Here we go. My name is Michael Volpe. I'm an investigative journalist, and I've been following a case in federal court in Florida involving Randall Shockett. The case is Jeremy Hales versus Lynette Michelle, Lacey Preston, and John Cook. Case number, I gave the case number. Mr. Shockett represents Mr. Hales. As part of this case, Mr. Shockett faced potential lawyer's fees for calling someone to a deposition.
Hey, Mike, can you put that on the screen? Are you able to do that from where you are?
I don't.
You can send it to me, Mike, and I can throw it up.
Yeah, send it to Lisa. Let it put it up so everybody can see what you sent them.
All right, so it's coming over. Do you want me to stop reading it?
No, read.
All right, and I think it's the fifth page, Lisa, when you get it. And hopefully you can skip through where my address is, so we don't.
Okay.
Get my. Oh, that's the wrong one.
You're gonna get mobbed by all the fans, Mike.
All right. Yeah, that's what I need. All right. So Mr. Shockett represents Mr. Hales as part of this case. Mr. Shockett faced potential lawyer fees for calling someone to a deposition, Amanda Martin, who had no relationship to the underlying case, defamation, extortion, and tortious interference. Ms. Martin was the assigned victim advocate for an unrelated protective order taken out by Preston against Hales. Martin's son also got into some sort of altercation with Hales. Martin, it is alleged by opposing counsel, was called merely to harass her and to create YouTube content for Hale's popular YouTube channel. In his response, Mr. Shockett made a material misrepresentation about the nature of the relationship between Mr. Hales and Ms. Martin. He stated in part, quote, Ms. Martin knew Mr. Hales in 2023 as his victim advocate by virtue of the Ohio protective order in place restricting Ms. Preston from having any contact, including third party, with Mr. Hales. Number two, Ms. Martin knew Ms. Preston in 2023 as her victim advocate. And number three, Ms. Martin's adult son, Steve Rhett Cunningham, assaulted Mr. Hales in 2023. Prior to this assault, Mr. Hales never knew Mr. Cunningham. Number one is false. Ms. Martin worked for Levy County, Florida. She had nothing to do with another Ohio protective order filed by Mr. Hales. I emailed Mr. Shockett on Sunday and asked him to amend this response because of this material misrepresentation. He has refused. It is important to note that currently Preston and Cook are without counsel, so it's likely that Mr. Shockett made this material misrepresentation knowing a lawyer would not step in. By making this material misrepresentation, Shockett falsely created the impression that the nature of the relationship between Martin and Hales was much more intertwined than it was. That's important because he was on very shaking ground. Shockett never explained how the testimony related to the case, and he should be investigated for demanding a frivolous deposition. However, my complaint is about this material misrepresentation, which he refuses to fix despite being made aware of it. And I gave them the email that I sent to him. And I believe you're not allowed to make a material misrepresentation. If you did it by mistake, you are required to fix it. So the bar is very.
There are two different types of things. First and foremost, it's under Rule 8.4, which talks about the legal profession and honesty of lawyers. Lawyers cannot lie. That's the rule. As funny as it sounds, lawyers are not allowed to lie under the rules of professional conduct. Mm-hmm. So that's one area. But the other part is called candor towards the tribunal. And that means if you have misstated something to the court in a sworn way, so whether it's a sworn statement to the court, whether spoken on the record or a sworn statement that you signed your name to, and you subsequently find out that that statement is a false statement, as soon as you recognize that, or as you're alerted to that, you have to promptly correct it for the court. Correct it for the court record, put a supplemental paper in, do something to tell the court, listen, I said something. When I said it, I thought it was true. I found out subsequently that it's false. Here it is. Now, by you, Michael, bringing it to Shockett's attention, right, you triggered an ethical obligation on his behalf under both of those rules, candor towards the tribunal and honesty in the legal profession.
Can he claim, what?
Wait a minute. You just said honesty and Shockett in the same sentence.
I know. It's the stretch, but these are the rules. That's what
those are the rules. They even apply to me.
I didn't make them shit.
I think this is going to be what he says. He's going to say, no one. I may have been wrong, but I just got confused. There was multiple protective orders. I thought she was in Ohio. I'm sorry. Mr. Volpe sends me rude and threatening and harassing emails. I just erased them. I don't even open them. He may have sent me something. I didn't see it. What do you think of that argument?
That argument is a terrible argument. Especially given this case, and especially given the acrimony in this case, Mike, and he kind of can't know. That's a statement that is, if he made that, it just doesn't fit. There's so much going on in this case. It's not like, and it's not like it's a minor detail either. This is something that goes to the heart of Jeremy's statements about him being quote unquote harassed and hurt and harmed and everything else. So I would find it very hard to believe. But after you've made it known to him, the fact that you made it known to him makes it inexcusable.
Lisa, can you scroll down? I think the next page is the email that I sent.
Yes, I didn't know if you wanted me to, but
let's take a look at the email. And so there. I think you keep going. Yeah, right there. Randall, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume you wrote this in error. In response to the motion for sanctions, you claimed that Amanda Martin was both Hales and Preston's victim advocate. She was not. She works for Levi County. She was only the victim advocate for Preston. The way you wrote it, it makes it seem like she knows everyone more than she does. Since I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, I'll assume it was a mistake. You better fix it, or there is no benefit of the doubt, and I'll file a bar complaint. I don't make empty threats. You've got a bar complaint, Shockett. I've got a.
So he never responded to that?
He never responded to that. That is correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Look, we'll see. I've dealt with the bar in probably about 15 states. They're all variations of idiotic and bad and very frustrating. And so, this is very serious because I think I don't think it was a mistake. I think he knew he was on really shaky ground and he wanted to add this little tidbit in to make it seem like there's a little more of a relationship than there really is. And I think he did think, well, you know what? Bruce isn't their lawyer. So no one's going to file anything to say that this is a misstatement. Judge isn't going to notice. And maybe the judge will buy it and think, oh, well, she was involved in all of these different ways. That makes sense. And in reality, they barely know each other, and you made a misstatement. So we'll see. They just gave me the case number, and they said they're going to have a lawyer look at it, and
Michael and Rick, I got a question for you guys right here. Can you answer me how a person like Shockett can pass the bar and get a license to practice law in the state of Florida, where he has literally stolen thousands of dollars from the U.S. government?
It's pretty straightforward, actually. When they throw you out as a lawyer, basically you could kill somebody, and it's probably easier to get back into being a lawyer than if you have a crime of dishonesty. But if you have crime of dishonesty on your record, they can look at it, and usually after 7 years, they allow you back in, either in a probationary status or with restrictions, unless it's very, very egregious. And they do that because there's this belief that they don't want people to be professionalists for their entire life. And if there's no return or idea of a return to the legal profession, somebody with legal knowledge could turn into a total rabble-rouser and seek to destroy the legal profession, burn it knowing how it works, and could become like a journalist, an investigative journalist, partner with Mike Volpe and expose judges and lawyers and just corrupt assholes.
But that's just the hypothetical.
I'm never going to be a lawyer ever again. I don't care if the whole fucking thing burns down. That's why they let them become lawyers. And so they say after a certain amount of time, if you did behave, we'll let you back into our shitty little club. So that's
okay. So Rich, but what you're telling me there is you can go become a lawyer again, but heaven forbid if you did some stupid blue collar crime, you cannot get your rights back again, being a felon.
Well, there are felons. A lot of times they won't let it happen if you're a felon, unless there's some type of if it's a violent felony, it really depends on the circumstances.
No, not a violent felony. Let's just go a non-violent felony.
Yeah, like
well, what he
in
DC
that Klein was it Kleinbach or Klein something or other? That was the lawyer in DC that had to plead to a technical felony, never served a day in jail, and was suspended from the practice of law in DC for like 6 months.
Right.
So he pled to a paper felony, and they gave him a 6 month suspension. He was like,
F. Lee Bailey. Bailey lost his law. He lost his law license at the end of his life because he had mismanaged money in one of his F. Lee Bailey.
Yeah, well, Bailey, you're better off killing a client than robbing from him. That's what I said. Like the
right. But the central act, the act of dishonesty, is the same in Shockett's case as it is in Bailey's case. And Bailey had a whole, I guess probably by then the bar didn't like him, but he had a whole career of doing good legal work. Does that didn't count for anything in Bailey's case?
Yeah, it doesn't count for much if they're pissed at you. They want to run you out of town, they'll run you out of town. It's like why the villagers in Frankenstein? They're dealing with the bars.
But was it partially because that was when he was a dentist, or why is the act of dishonesty in Shockett's case less severe than in Bailey's
it was
case?
severe enough for the Arkansas Supreme Court to say no.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Arkansas said, "Oh hell no."
Yeah,
but Florida says,
when he applied to get his law license, they said no, based on what happened with his, defrauding the Medicare or whatever it was. Where was it? Where was the original? Where was he a dentist at?
Arkansas.
Warrior or something?
Arkansas.
I think it was.
Well, he went. No, it was. I think it was actually in a different state, and then he got his law. He went to get his law license in Arkansas. They said no.
He was a Tennessee dentist. When Arkansas tried to take the bar, they said no. Then he went to Texas. He went to Florida. They said yes. But that's because of the point that some states will say it's really only, and all that of disbarment means is that you are for 7 years you cannot apply for readmission to the bar. That's what it technically means. Now, the bar can say no for a long time after that. They can say no for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years or forever. But they could say yes at 7 years for people too. So that's really all it means. And for somebody coming in new, like Shockett, they would say, look, this guy, had made a mistake. And the mistake was a long time ago. And in the time since then, he's been a good citizen. He's gone to law school, and we believe we'll give him a shot as an attorney. Now, what happens is that mark is still on his record. So if he were to engage in any dishonesty, like right now, they would also bring his dental bullshit in as relevant conduct in figuring what type of licensure problems he might have, what type of penalty they give him.
Well, Rich, is there any way to check if he was dishonest about his bar thing here in Florida?
What he put on his application or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, you could ask the bar examiners. That would be on file with the bar examiners. And if they do a detailed investigation of him, then they would pull that out and take a look. Sure. If he didn't disclose that would be a big problem for him. But I don't know how he wouldn't disclose it. It would be some of those things you have to disclose.
Right.
You would think.
Right. Yeah.
It would have come up at some point.
Oh, I like that. In my deposition to Shockett, I could say, you can't handle the tooth. I like it.
You can't handle the tooth.
I'm writing that down. I'm writing that down.
Bruce is in the chat, everybody. One thing that they want you to know is that Amanda Martin was also Jeremy's victim advocate, I believe. I think that's what my mama was saying here. Let me go back. My mama had said, let me go back. She was assigned to Jeremy as his victim advocate.
What did he have a victim advocate for?
Regardless, she wasn't involved in his Ohio case.
No.
So it is the way he wrote it. She's like she's here with one party, she's here with another party. So it gives the impression that she's intertwined with these folks. And so maybe the judge looks at that and goes, well, she knows him from this, she knows her from that. I'll let it slide. And if he's telling the truth, it looks much more sketchy. Look, it looks sketchy anyway.
Was she his victim advocate when Michelle had the protection order against him in Florida?
Right. Well, apparently she was the only victim advocate in the county.
She's the only one in the county, yeah.
So she would have been his victim advocate when Michelle had a protection order against him.
That would have been Michelle getting the victim advocate.
Right. I think he filed for one in Florida, but regardless, whatever are the details, she was never his victim advocate in Ohio. And that's what you could put on, on a statement in court that he signed under penalty of perjury. And then I brought it up to him and he didn't fix it. So I believe that's worthy of at least a letter of reprimand from the bar to say this, you're not allowed to make material misrepresentations. And when they're brought to your attention, you are required to immediately fix it. Listen, I don't want to get into like the details of Amanda Martin. That it's irrelevant. That has nothing to do with the underlying case. And as I said, it's not about, this is what they did. All right. They used all of this personal stuff to turn it into a soap opera, and it's not a soap opera. It doesn't matter what her son did to him. It has nothing to do with the case that she was being deposed for. And it doesn't
I believe that he just deposed her just to mess with her. Yeah, his own little evil crap that he does.
And for content.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right. And it's irrelevant as far as what Shockett did. And look, it's not it's not like the Al Capone of like legal ethical behavior, what he did, but he is still required to fix it when it's brought to his attention. And he refused to do that. So, at a minimum, they should send him a letter of reprimand and explain what the ethics of law are. And that if you make a material misrepresentation by accident, as soon as it's brought to your attention, you fix it. So hopefully he at least gets that. Though really,
Did you actually see that, Depo?
I didn't see. I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen it. I don't.
I mean,
I
he
don't,
like tortured and harassed her.
Michael, you got to watch it.
I don't understand people's obsession with it. I don't.
Well, every lawyer we knew that's seen it, it was like flabbergasted. They could not believe that he did that to her.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well,
For 7 hours.
Yeah. Literally tortured her and harassed her. And then they used it to mock her later on. And not just on Jeremy's channel, but Megan did it, as you were mentioning, Tug, and they really, really went hardcore with it. And it was terrible. And
well, it's obvious. It's obvious that whole depot was just for YouTube content.
Right, and by them mocking her on their YouTube channels, then Jeremy promotes their YouTube channels. See how that works? That's a nice little relationship they got. Jeremy's currency is subscribers, and he's got a lot of them, and that's a lot of currency that he can throw around. And it's very seductive. That's how he turned an ethical, honest, and hardworking journalist, Megan Fox, into a dishonest and slimy content creator. Because by being a slimy and dishonest content creator, he opened her up to some or all of his subscribers. She went from about 10,000 to 50,000. And now she's doing Gibbs and Rosalind Duke.
Well, what's happened is Jeremy, when he came down here, he was trying to get all his friends like Conky, Rob, and Guapo to buy at least one property, and he was going to make it. That's when he talked about Tubetown, right? And Megan's going around telling everybody it was all about coming here and bringing tourism. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. But Rob, Conky, and Guapo did not purchase property, and they didn't come here. So what Jeremy essentially did do was he created the Tubetown, right, across the street from Michelle's house, and then brought in other YouTubers and promised them, the sun, moon, and stars with their views, the subscribers, the whole 9 yards. And he built it that way instead of so he's got his own little team of people, his own echo chamber, his own little smear campaigners, all these guys. And meanwhile, it's like, if you look back, was he going to try and do that with Rob, Conky, and Guapo?
Right. Well, they didn't
but that was the original thing that he came there thinking he was going to do. And now he just built his team on the other end of it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he's the one with the conspiracy.
Right.
So,
well, most of his allegations are confessions because it's a lot of.
Oh, yeah.
And it's projection because that thought is in your head. The reason he thinks everyone else is a conspiracy against him is because that's what he's doing. So he assumes everyone's acting the way he's acting.
Well, the biggest thing is that I did a little research today on the Florida Deceptive Trade Practices Act. And if you read it, if you read the legislative history, it actually mirrors the FTC, and it gives great deference to how the FTC operates, the Federal Trade Commission. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the Federal Trade Commission, they do not regulate anything that encroaches upon media, encroaches upon publication, anything that comes anywhere near the First Amendment. They deal with banking and contracts. And I'm trying to find an answer to this. And I'm leaning towards thinking my conclusion is that you need a contract or the offer of a contract between the parties in some way, shape, or form for there to be a federal trade or a Florida trade practices claim. I think that the actual claim that Shockett and Hales is using here to say that at the heart of the conspiracy, a deceptive trade practice, is premised upon the fact that there was a good or service that was being offered, a contract that was being offered between the parties.
Presented no contract. There is no contract. So
that's the point. I think the absence of a contract, of agreement, becomes a problem for him.
Once again, he doesn't meet the elements of the tort as he did with his extortion tort, where he claimed there was extortion.
Exactly.
He just didn't present evidence of extortion. Another frivolous filing. He's racking them up, Shockett is. If he's not careful, by the end of this thing, he may not have a law license. He's racking up a lot of potential penalties. And Randall, That's the first. It is not the last bar complaint you're going to face. You're going to.
Oh, absolutely not. I can tell you that right now.
No, there's going to be a lot of bar complaints coming against you.
Yeah.
This is insane. What
He can be
just
held accountable for that depo that he did with Michelle, correct?
He could, but I think you have a much better shot of having him investigated for Amanda Martin's deposition, because that the deposition with Michelle, his behavior in it, that's dicey. I got a deposition up that I did a couple of stories about, and a lot of the comments are about the behavior of the lawyer and how he was sarcastic and, why did he keep asking this and why did he do that? And he's such a scummy lawyer. But I don't think you file a bar complaint over that. But Michelle's deposition was related, at least, to the underlying case. You're taking a person who you don't like and using the excuse that you're filing a lawsuit about something she has nothing to do with to depose her, just to ask her personal questions so you can humiliate her. Nothing else. It doesn't help your case. That's not ethical legally. And I think
he was trying to do that to us as well.
Yeah.
And I think the bar should definitely look at his at his reasons for deposing someone who has nothing to do with the case. I think that's probably the strongest potential bar complaint. But let's see.
They flat out said they wanted to depose Lisa and Robbie for potential future cases.
Right. Well,
yes,
that's not how it works.
That was exactly the wording.
That's exactly what he said.
That was the wording in there.
Thank you, Dusty old dude.
That he wanted to depose them for potential future law cases.
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions.
Rips read that and he was like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah. And there were a lot of questions in Michelle's depo that weren't even relevant to the case. But she kept telling him she wanted her lawyer. She wanted a lawyer. She wanted a lawyer. She wanted to do it another time. I mean, he was definitely harassing her. And he harassed her to the point where she got confused a bunch of times and mistakenly sent Jeremy a text when she was trying to send Shockett one of a conversation between them. And Jeremy was sitting right there. And what Jeremy ended up doing a day or two later was calling the sheriff's office and filed a complaint to get a contempt order against her because she texted him. And they know exactly why and what happened. And he just got off the phone with Shockett. This is all in video. He just got off the phone with Shockett while the officer was standing there. He showed him the text. And when the officer said, "Any idea why she would do something like that?" he looked at the officer and laughed and said, "I have no idea." He goes, "She's crazy."
Right.
And I mean, that's a complete lie to make a false report like that.
Right.
To get her in contempt. Perhaps he didn't realize the dash cam was on and the car was facing them as they were talking. But that was clearly caught.
Like one of many potential crimes that he has committed. Am I right?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
So, also now, Richard, that video that I sent you today, because it was all over the fake, what the hell's Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Thing. Do you want to tell us what that's about?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it. So Jeremy Hales isn't the only content creator that's an asshole that I've been fighting with. There's another guy who's actually worse than Jeremy. And Jeremy, in many ways, is just a crazy narcissist. He's hurting, Preston and Cook. He's really hurting them. To a certain extent, he's monetarily hurting the people that he's suing in the lawsuit. He's taking their time.
Dude, he's hurting me.
Yeah, but he's hurting their time and their money. And he says stuff about people that's very not nice. To a certain extent, he's curtailed himself to try to make sure that or at least try to make the outward appearance that he's not affecting other people, that he's not trying to get his followers to do anything. That's what he's trying to say. Now, this other guy, his name is Danesh Nashirvan. And Danesh, and like Michael said, we talked about, not just YouTube, but social media in general. This guy's a TikToker to begin with. That's where his major platform is. He has 2 million or so viewers, over 2 million viewers on TikTok or followers. And he's also on Instagram. He's also on other sites. and he does things that he calls accountability culture. So he's one of these
Oh my
cancel
gosh.
culture people that started during the pandemic, and people would send videos of people not distancing at supermarkets or not wearing their masks as government workers or this, that, and you get people fired or you get people banned from places, and that's how he started. He was like the mask police. And then
Right.
when COVID stopped, he started becoming this real woke accountability culture guy. And he would just take videos from people about people being racist or people being, mainly racist. He has a general pattern of attacking people for being racist. He's like, I called him the digital Al Sharpton. Now, Al Sharpton would go knock on the door of a big company and say, if you don't pay us this money and do this, and that, and everything else, then we're going to say you're racist. It's a race hustle. So he's a racist. He calls everybody racist. Now, this guy is he's a terrible, terrible man. And so if you try to attack him, he basically says that you're attacking him back. He's total Darvo, which is a term where you basically deny, accuse, reverse victim offender, and it's a psychological tactic that narcissists use.
Right.
And he's a far greater of a narcissist than Jeremy actually is. Because Jeremy, I don't know whether it's out of self-preservation or whatnot, but he's not. He's making sure that there's no specific harm that's going out wholesale. Danesh doesn't stop. Danesh already has a body count. A Texas high school football coach killed himself because of an accountability campaign that Danesh had, and he had his 1 million followers start calling up the school district, calling up the guy's house, calling up the guy's relatives, bombarding the social media, bombarding.
Sounds like Jeremy's people.
But this is a larger scale situation with millions of people. And so what this guy Danesh did was, back in 2022, and it doesn't matter what your politics are, but in 2022, when the Dobbs opinion came out, which overturned Roe v. Wade, he went out there and he doxed the Supreme Court justices of the United States, the 6 conservative justices. He gave their home addresses, and he put them out there. And because of that, there was a guy from California, mentally disturbed, who got on a bus, came out to Washington, D.C., to Justice Kavanaugh's house, and was picked up by the judicial marshals guarding Justice Kavanaugh. And he had a backpack with burglary tools, a knife, and rope. And they grabbed him and said, "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to kill Justice Kavanaugh." Totally mentally crazy person. And that's what this guy, he put these Supreme Court justices, public servants, at risk by doxing them, putting their information out there, and taking his mentally ill followers. He's got millions of people, but he has a whole bunch of mentally ill people who follow him that would basically do anything. They get behind screens all day and attack people when he says to attack. So this guy's a bad dude, and people have died. There are over 1,000 victims of Danesh that we know about. That means thousands of people whose lives have been ruined. They've lost their jobs. They've been just totally canceled by cancel culture, and really for a lot of times it's for false reasons. This guy it's not true. He's doing the same thing that Jeremy does and that Megan is doing and some of these other people doing. They're not looking to get deep into the facts. They're going to a very topical issue that they can make appear outrageous for the clicks and for the follows. And then
it sounds like if Jeremy keeps going on, it could turn into what this guy's doing.
Yeah, Jeremy could turn into that.
He could, but this guy's total leftist. He's like a woke leftist. So he's put it out there, his political views. He hates white people. He hates Jews. He's a total anti-Semite, but like Jeremy is too, I believe. But he hates Israel. He thinks Israel should be wiped off the map. He's actually Iranian. To begin with, he comes around, he tells everybody he's an Iranian anchor baby, so he's got his own political bent. He was dancing on Trump's grave in 2020. He's connected to some of the anti-Trump financial groups like Scott Dworkin and the Democratic Committee against Donald Trump, but also it looks like George Soros money and potentially Chinese Communist Party money. And so the issue that we have with this guy is he's a very sophisticated person that has a very specific political connection that is being aided and abetted by bigger forces. Jeremy's just a shit brick with a tip jar at the end of the day. So Jeremy's small potatoes compared to the reach that this other guy has. And so I ended up getting.
I wonder if he knows who he is.
I don't know. I think that they may very well be in cahoots because both lawyers that they have, Randy Shockett and the lawyer for Danesh, his name is Nick Chiappetta. They're both Florida lawyers. So I'm working under the theory that they're trying to work together to come after me, because I think that the only reason why Mike would not be named in the lawsuit, and I would be they would see some substantial benefit in putting me in there. And maybe with this whole Danesh thing coming out on what the Hales, it's part of the Danesh attack through Jeremy and a Jeremy attack through Danesh. They might start doing cross content. So if we look for that, that will confirm my
They might, they might start collabing.
If they start collabing. What happened was, now that I'm in the lawsuit with Jeremy, what I did last week was I served this asshole Danesh with papers, and I'm suing him. I'm suing him for $20 million. And I sent you guys the lawsuit, a few of you guys last week, to let you see it. What I would do to Jeremy if he kept it up, and if he sued me. And it's going to be almost a carbon copy of what I'm doing to Danesh. I served Danesh with papers last week. I had PIs and a process service sitting on it, but this moron goes out there and he's running around Florida. He's coming down here for a deposition in another case. And he's on his social media telling everybody, I'm in Boca Raton. I got a deposition in 2 days. I'm hanging out. Anybody know where's good to eat food? So I send my PIs and process servers out there, and they hit him with papers. And now he's complaining that I did something wrong. Oh, you got the information from a terrible source. Yeah, I did get it from a terrible source. I got it from you, you fucking moron. For you. So this guy is a bad dude. I'm suing him for $20 million because he called me, get this, he called me a pedophile. Right? He called me a pedophile. And so there's no coming back from that. That's the per se category that we talk about in defamation, when if you talk about somebody and you say that they're a criminal, you'd say that they committed a heinous criminal act. Well, that's the most heinous criminal act there is, because in Florida, DeSantis just put in the death penalty. If you're a pedophile and you rape a child under the age of 12, you were eligible for the death penalty.
For the death penalty.
So what this guy just did is he puts out, and what he did was, he usually, like I said, does TikToks and videos, but he gets so pissed with all the shit that I was writing about him, both on Florida Gulf News, FLGulf.news.com, and my Substack page, and New York News Press, nynewspress.com. Those are some of my sites. And I've been putting stuff out about him for, a couple of years now already. And he created a Substack page. Now, this guy's like Jeremy Hales in the respect that he doesn't, belong doing anything beyond Crayola. Let alone having a Substack page where he's trying to be a journalist. He's playing a fake journalist. And so his stuff, like he just put something out earlier today, and it said, buy ChatGPT. So he doesn't even write his own shit. He runs it through AI, and he gets a ChatGPT. But the last one he did, or a couple of them ago, he said specifically that I was a pedophile, and that went out to thousands of his followers on his Substack. And so I asked for a retraction. I said, this is false. I want a retraction immediately. And his lawyer, his asshole lawyer, Nick Chiappetta, total scumbag lawyer, goes along and he says, oh, no, we'll just change it. But that would work for maybe a website, but you need to do an apology. But Substack changes the game because you've already, the genie's already out of the bottle. The toothpaste is already out of the tube with all the thousands of people. And this guy has millions of followers across many platforms that he had sent the emails to. So it's already out there that Richard Luthmann is a pedophile. Says Danesh. And he presented it not as his opinion. He presented it as, oh, yeah, he's a pedophile like Richard Luthmann and this other guy. And there's no way for him to retract it unless he puts out a full-scale retraction that he shoots from the rooftops. And he's already said he's standing by his statement that I'm a pedophile, which he says with no proof whatsoever. There's no allegation. There's no, I was never charged with a crime. I was never investigated of a crime. I was never convicted of a crime related to child sexual predator, child sexual abuse, child pedophilia. There's nothing. And
child anything.
He says to me, child anything.
Yeah, well, that video that was out today, now he's calling it stalker, a child stalker is what he's saying now.
A child stalker. Now, and so what he basically said to me is that, Richard Luthmann, you should die. That's what he said. He's like, I want you to die, not only physically under the death penalty of the state of Florida, but socially, because just the allegation of being called a pedophile is a terrible, terrible allegation. It means social death for people. So if you put and a guy like him who has such a big platform, millions of followers, and they put it out on the internet everywhere, and he gets his people ramped up believing that Richard Luthmann is a pedophile and believing so falsely, that's something you can never recover from. So that's in the per se damages category, where I don't have to prove the damages, they're assumed. And I have this guy dead to rights. I had him served with the papers. He was present in the state of Florida when I served him with the papers. So one of the first rules of civil procedure is, if you get the person in the state you want to sue them and they're present in the state, you hit them with the process, they have to go to court. Doesn't matter if they live on the other side of the country, and they're just there for the day. You got him, and I got him. That's what I did. He lives in Pennsylvania, Mansfield, Pennsylvania, and I'm a resident of Florida. I sued him in Fort Myers Federal Court. He's already litigating in Fort Myers Federal Court in the other case. That's where he chose to bring the case. So I have no problems bringing him down here. And I got a good selection with my judge. The judge is a Republican Trump appointee. And so I don't think the other judges have allowed this guy a license to dox everybody. He doxed the Supreme Court. He's been doxing the litigants in the other case. And we know all about litigation privilege. So if he believes that doxing is a part of litigation privilege, then that's beautiful. Then I will incorporate doxing as part of my litigation privilege. If that's what the federal court says, is that somebody can go dox people because there's litigation privilege, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to dox Danesh Nashirvan and his wife and his attorney and all the other associates that I know that are listed in the complaint. I'm going to probably put out a piece tomorrow or the next day where I dox them. Or I put out their names and their addresses, which they're already in the complaint. I'll put out some of their email addresses and their phone numbers. Now, I'm not going to put socials or anything like that, but I can make their life miserable too. I can make it very easy for them to be reachable. I can make it so their phone keeps ringing all day and blows up. Because if that's what the courts say that I can do because of litigation privilege, if they're allowing a Supreme Court doxer, a guy who has placed the lives of some of the top public servants in our country at risk, then that's what I'm going to do. If the courts can't protect it, they're not going to stop it. Now, Mike knows, because we talked about this on our show, I've already asked President Trump for help. I asked President Trump to write me a letter of marque. If we look in the Constitution, there's something called a letter of marque, and that was what they had for the Barbary Pirates. And so if you have an enemy, foreign and domestic, the president can write a letter of marque for you, and you can go out there and you can do what you got to do. It's like basically being a pirate with a license. And
it's a license to pirate.
It was a license to pirate. So I think that this guy Danesh is an enemy of the Republic, of the Constitution, of natural law, and of all things.
He's an enemy of the state.
So I think that President Trump should give me a license to go and basically use my natural law remedies on this guy upon sight. I wanted to let me be a domestic pirate.
I'm not betting that you're going to get
If
that.
courts don't want to go after somebody who's doxing public servants, then I'll take care of it. I told President Trump I'd take care of it. I love the president. I love the country. So that's all I'm asking for.
There you go.
And it would actually save the pigs, because I don't think the pigs want to eat this guy. I really don't think so. Maybe they might want to eat Jeremy. Jeremy's got he looks like he'd be a worthy meal for the pigs. But I don't think Danesh. I don't think they like the dark meat. I really don't. I think the pigs would be, a little bit disgusted by this guy. So I want to go take care of him with President Trump's blessing. That's what I want to do.
Rich, we could set up a boat and make him walk the plank in the Gator Marsh.
Yeah.
Now, listen, it all matters with the letters of marque. If the president gives me letters of marque, then it's all on, And the thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to hire a whole bunch, like a little team, like getting together a posse. I would round up a posse like in the old days and get all these retired federal agents. You know what I'm saying? Like guys that just took the buyout from Trump, but they still have guns and everything else. And I'd have a posse. It'd be like, I'd be running around like hunting the cowboys.
Yeah.
It would just be the way to do it. I'd be like Wyatt Earp, and I have my own letter of marque, and I galloping around.
Rich,
I might get my own horse. I'll name him. I'll get a big black horse and name him Whitey or something like that. It'd be really, really cool. And I would just gallop around with my letters of marque.
Somebody's seen Tombstone a couple too many times.
Yeah. Rich, I want to say though, I love your picture behind you there with the gold chains and the hat and the glasses. And I just want to let you know, after you win all these lawsuits, we go in against Jeremy and this other idiot. I've I've got my friend, a couple friends who have a band called Fun Loving Criminals out of New York. You may have heard of them. I think we can get you in that band, Rich.
All right, there you go. There you
What am
go.
I going to do? What instrument am I going to play?
You just got to do tambourines.
I can do the bongos. I can do it up.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. I think we should get Rich touring the world with Fun-Loving Criminals.
I like it.
We could do that.
Rich, you can play the cowbell.
Yeah,
that is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I need more.
We need more cowbell.
Really explore the studio space when you play the cowbell.
That's right. I think that might be the way to go. That might be the way to go.
We need more cowbell.
That, folks, for all of like the Gen Z, is from a very famous Saturday Night Live skit with Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken and Will Ferrell.
Right. Will Ferrell wrote it. Will Ferrell wrote it. And
Jimmy Fallon was in it, and he couldn't stop laughing the whole fucking time.
Yeah,
hilarious. You got to watch it.
He lost it, but that's one of the best skits they had. When they redid Blue Oyster Cult, which has the cowbell.
The cowbell.
And Christopher Walken, gotta have more cowbell. Walken says that's the quote people use more than anything with him. He said he was in a play, and when they were coming out to like bow, somebody's like, "Give me more cowbell." So anyway, it's effective Christopher Walken.
But yeah, this guy Danesh is a total asshole. And so what they're doing now in Jeremy Hales is they are using Danesh's attacks on me, where he's basically calling me a child stalker, a pedophile, or this or that or the other thing, because he does. That's what he does. He just puts anything out there because he's not accountable, because he thinks he's above accountability. And so they're trying to use his attacks against me to try to get me. But I put out an article like last week, I think, about the most dangerous man in America. And that's about me. And what I did in that article, or what they had done in that article, was them to disparage me to the point where it was comical. I took the report. If anybody doesn't know, I had to go to federal prison because we have a corrupt justice system. And the Obama-Biden justice system, basically, it was the Obama justice system. The same people I took out, everybody else in the Eastern District of New York, they didn't like me because, Hillary Clinton didn't like me, and a bunch of the other Democrats in New York didn't like me. Because I didn't play well with others. I was the law chair of the Reform Party. So they sent me up the river. I had to go up the river for a few years. But when you see this, detention.
I just love his terms.
Well, no, they see this detention memo that the government put in to me. The detention memo says I'm one of the most dangerous and evil people that ever walked on the face of the earth. Sammy the Bull Gravano, pussy compared to me. If you read this thing, that I was controlling the quote Chinese mafia and the Italian mafia from a strip mall on Staten Island next to a vape shop and a hamburger joint on the other. Like that's what these people would think. That's what if you read this thing. And so
Rich, where is he buried?
Yeah, well, exactly. But
where is Hoffa buried?
Did you see the thumbnail tonight?
What happened?
Did you see the thumbnail for tonight?
No, not yet.
we got the Goodfellas with Marlon Brando behind him, and we got Al Pacino on the other side. We're all in the lounge at the Palm Up, for Luthmann cruises. I'm kicking Jeremy off the boat.
I like it. I got to see this. No, so what we got with me is I had the prosecutor in my case named Moira Kim Penza. And she's a crazy bitch. And she was the one who actually, we talked about Nexium before with Frank Parlato. She's the one who prosecuted Nexium and prosecuted Keith Raniere. And she was a total nut. She's one of these jobbers that was in the U.S. Attorney's Office just to get made into a partner with these big law firms. And she left the U.S. Attorney's Office. And the first thing she did was she went to this big factory of a law firm. I think, I forget the name of it. But the first thing she did was she sued Donald Trump. So it was a political hatchet job, this woman. That's what she was there to do. And to take me out. And it was basically Chuck Schumer who did it, and Hillary Clinton, and all the rest of them, all the people who loved me in New York. And that's why I lost my Staten Island privileges. They kicked me off of Staten Island. They kicked me out of New York to get the fuck out. So I go and I went away, to college, for a few years, and I get out. And they want to do this, take everything that I did back then. And I really didn't do any of it. And I've maintained my innocence on everything. That was a political railroad job. But one of the funny things is, in federal court, and Mike knows this, the judge that I had was Jack Weinstein. And Jack Weinstein was a famous judge with the mafia cops and with all this other stuff. And they come
He was
to me
pushing
and said,
100 and he was still a judge.
yeah, he and so he was a famous guy. Oh, that's really cool. He was a famous guy, and he says, the Penza, who's the prosecutor, she turns around and says, Luthmann is a mafia associate. I'm a Cosa Nostra associate, and so I can't tell how I'm a Cosa Nostra associate. But Weinstein's standing there and he's like, okay, there are 5 New York families, right? There's 5 New York families. There's the Gambinos, there's the Lucchese's, there's the Bonanos. Who else is there? There's
Colombo.
Who?
Genovese.
Colombo.
The Genoveses
Colombo.
and the Colombos. Those are the 5 families. Which family is Mr. Luthmann? And they're like humming.
Right.
And they couldn't say his family I was associated. And so the judge is like, well, you cannot have a case that is related to general mafia. You can't have a case with the mafia lurking in the background, is the actual thing he said. So they gave them a week to go back out there and figure out what mafia family I was. And so my co-defendant, my buddy George is there, and so they come back and they say, George, we know that they're mafia because George's grandfather was at Lucky Luciano's wedding in 1949, and we have pictures in the FBI file. I shit you not. They said this. It was in the New York Post. That this woman got laughed out of court. The government got laughed out of court. The shit that they said about me, it was such bullshit. But the biggest point of bullshit that they had, and I'll send you the article. You can put it in with the stuff for the show. Is that I tried to have the district attorney in Staten Island, this guy named McMahon. He's a prick. They said that I tried to have a stripper say that he raped her. Right, to do a false report. But they said that I tried to bring her $10,000 and give her $10,000, but she didn't take the money.
Yeah.
Think about that. What stripper do you know? You hand them $10,000 and they don't take the money. It's like I couldn't get laid in a whorehouse with a fistful of hundreds. Right. It's like that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not. First of all, I'm the most dangerous man ever. I tried to order this person killed. I tried to order another guy, his hand broken like in Casino with the hammer. I tried to do that. I said that the Chinese mafia was going to kill people. They were going to come rape people. And then I failed to bribe.
Guapo.
And she failed to take the money. It's like the most moronic thing I've ever. And I wrote the whole article about this. But this is the stuff that Jeremy Hales and Tug and all those other assholes were talking about when I first came along on this. This is the stuff that Danesh and his people are talking about on this. But the problem they have is they all checkers play.
Anyone who gets like scrutinized by Rick, it's almost a guarantee that they'll like put this out there. I get emails all the time. Oh, this is your friend, and it's like some link to some article from 7 years ago about his federal case.
Yeah.
Right.
And I always say, congratulations, you put Richard Luthmann into a Google search and this came out. Really digging
what a bad dude I am, But the best part is what I tell everybody is I want full faith and credit. So the Constitution, they give you full faith and credit. So if I'm the person that the government says that I am, I want full faith and credit for it. I want to be the most dangerous man in America. That was the whole idea of the article. Is that I want to be on the History Channel when they do all these bad criminals, like when they do Al Capone and when they do, all these other people like the crazy Joe Gallo. Well, I want a Richard Luthmann. I want an hour about Richard Luthmann. He's the fucking worst ever. That's what the Fed said. And I want another hour for my lawyer because my lawyer is a very famous lawyer who's Arthur Idala. We have the right now the Harvey Weinstein trial that's going on. He's Harvey Weinstein's guy. He's Harvey Weinstein's defense attorney. He was my defense attorney. I was so bad for the government that he only got me 4 years. He should get into the Lawyer Hall of Fame immediately. He should be the GOAT, the greatest of all time, for getting me 4 years when I tried to order people killed. I ran the Chinese mafia and the Italian mafia from a strip mall in Staten Island. When I tried to get people
Ray, God bless him.
I know that's not true.
But this is the shit that they're going to bring up.
I'm telling you, we've got Rich involved in this lawsuit now. We need Michael involved in it, and we need Guapo involved in it.
Guapo's not
Don't bring me into this before I need to be.
and George's sister. We need to get her.
Well, George's sister will bring Guapo will bring George's sister into it, and
well, you can't say that, Rob. You can't. I mean,
oh God. Well, okay. I'm protected under what, Rich?
Litigation privilege. See, it's right next to my
There
name.
you go.
Litigation privilege. It's in the title of the thumbnail. There you go.
Jeremy Hales has sex with goats. Litigation privilege. That's all you got to say.
Litigation privilege.
And Randy Shotkin have turns getting banged in the ass by the gorilla at the zoo. Litigation privilege. You know, you can say that.
Listen, Guapo would love to come into this, and Jeremy, I triple dog dare you to bring Guapo into this.
I just
he can't though. He'll knock this out of federal court. He'll get dropped, and then he'd have to bring all these cases in state court. And the other point is that he's brought this case in federal court in the Northern District, right? So there's a whole idea of minimum contacts, right, with the jurisdiction. So the only person I think that can actually be hauled into that court in Gainesville are people that are actually like there, like, you know, that they can show that they actually, you know, caused the harm. Especially the first lawsuit had happened, but you know, it's so attenuated here because it's a trade, deceptive trade practices situation and a conspiracy on top of that. They're going to have to show that. I think you'd have to prove the conspiracy had some hooks in Florida. So they're going to have to make some production there, or they're going to have to show that the actual defendants themselves have minimum contacts to Florida. The only one that has minimum contacts to Florida, I know I have minimum contacts here because I'm here.
Ray's not
have
in
minimum
Florida.
contacts here, but like Ray Bone Crusher, I don't think that they could bring him in. I think he could get out right away because of the jurisdictional stuff. You know.
Yeah,
but the thing is, Guapo, he wants all this to end, and he wants Jeremy's BS to be brought to the surface, and that's the same thing I want, and that's all I want, and you know, we're done with this. We put this behind us.
Robbie, you understand? If you want to have peace, you got to prepare for war.
Right.
I'm prepared.
So I'm ready for war. I love.
Same here.
I'm ready for it.
We have to roast this guy. That's what we have to do. And Bruce said yesterday, we have 10 defendants. Let's hit him with 10 different sets of discovery requests that he's never going to be able to answer. And you know, and then the whole point is that when you start asking for all sorts of different stuff, you know, you start asking for all of his communications with Tug, all his communications with Megan Fox, all his communications with Shara, all his communications with this one, that one, the other one, and then it's gonna be a treasure trove for us because we're gonna have all that shit, and then he's gonna start saying that we need a protective order, we need this, we need that, we need the other thing. Well, he better put Michael Volpe in the lawsuit because Mike Volpe is not subject to the protective order, but under the Illinois law, you know, he's a journalist. He's got journalist privilege. You know, I'm a journalist. I got journalist privilege too, to a certain extent. But the fact is that, you know, if Volpe ends up with his hands on all the discovery, you know, nobody could question him how he got it. You know that.
I can publish everything. That's why it has minimal effect if there's a protective order on the current lawsuits, because Megan wouldn't be a part of it. Tug, Shizzy, and the rest of his crew. And if they get their hands on it, there's no way to stop them. But yeah, he suing this many people all at once, it's the sort of thing you want a very competent lawyer for. And he's about to find out Shockett's not that competent.
But it's time consuming too. He's only one guy. He's maybe got a couple of girls working for him. Like if you're going to bring against 10 defendants, then you need like a big law firm, like a friggin' factory with 50 attorneys. And he doesn't have that. They don't have that. They're never going to be able to do what they need to do. So either.
Why do you think they've only served 5 people out of the 10?
Because this is not intended to be. It's intended to be a content creation device. That's what I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
You know?
It's all for content.
People doesn't know where they're
not going to be able to get to me either. That's the best part. They're not going to get to me. I really doubt that they're going to be able to find me. Yeah, that's the thing. They're going to go to a bunch of addresses. If they go to my dad's address, we already had this Bierman LLP in Chicago. They started saying shit about me, and then they put people up to dox me, but they put my dad's address because my dad lives in Florida too. And well, they put my dad's address there, and I published right away. I got my dad with a heart condition that they put his address. He's a civilian. He's got nothing to do with this, but he's sitting behind his door with his Glock, waiting for somebody to knock.
Yeah.
I little crazy bastard.
Castle State, baby.
Later, and he'll drag any motherfucker that's out there right into the house. Yep, he was there. I got him.
Castle State.
Yeah, Castle Doctrine. He's got to think that he's under attack.
Yep. He's elderly. He's under attack.
I'm being threatened by his minions with guns, eating bullets. We got Radis threatening to come to my home. I've had to talk to security here. I've had to go into the legal authorities. I mean, this guy is insane. And he's worked for Jeremy. Jeremy's paid him before to do Christmas and DJ Christmas in the Creek. These
My
people
son
are
would love to see Radis at our gate.
Really getting paid under the table.
My son would love to see Radis at our gate.
I mean, he's doxed me, doxed my address. He's gone after my husband, who basically pops on like to say hello every once in a while. That's like me going after Deanna or his people that work in his office that are there when he goes live or something. You know what I mean? Like that say hello and pop in and wave and stuff here or there, or it says Deanna in the background.
Like Christians and Patience.
Yeah, well, Christian and Patience are on his channel way more than Gabe.
Yeah, but Deanna is involved in this stuff.
Yeah. Deanna's the one that's literally sitting there on the computers.
Yeah,
while
but
everybody
they're not.
else is like packaging and shit.
But
everybody's packing.
Like
Deanna's going through everything.
Yeah, Deanna's the one that's going and watching everybody's lives and going back to Jeremy spinning shit. So is she the creator of the spin or is it Jeremy?
Hi, Deanna, creator.
It's crazy. He's got this team of people that are doing all this crap. And it sounds like he's like a minuscule of that guy that you were talking about, Danesh.
Well, that's Danesh, and Danesh is going to have a big problem because and I've locked horns with him, and he's going to he'll be the I think the cases will go about a similar track actually about the same time that things start happening, and one will happen in the other, but these people aren't ready. They're not ready for what's going to happen to them because nobody out there has really given it back to them. They've used reports for their content creation on their own, and they've bullied people, and they've tried to cancel people. But I'm to a certain extent uncancelable. Parlato, who published Michael's article before, the Frank Report, he wrote an article about me and Danesh a few months ago, saying that Danesh may have picked a match that he can't win because Luthmann is he's got all the knowledge that a lawyer has, and he's got nothing to lose, and he's not cancelable. And I just don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. People are going to say shit about me on the internet. The federal government has already said it. The federal government said I'm the most dangerous person that ever lived. So you're going to tell me something that's going to embarrass me? Fuck. Well, my mother's heard everything. You're going to go tell her that I did something, I pissed in the Cheerios or something? The same thing goes for Jeremy Hales. What are these people going to do? They're so fucking stupid. I got that pear-headed shithead Jay Hipster trying to gotcha me. The fuck out of here. These people are going to really come on. Mary Lincoln's that are fucking, chest of the molester, and I've heard that before. Michael Volpe, you're sending me free. Get the fuck out of here. Come on.
That's it. Rich, that's the same thing they're doing with me. Oh, he's a felon. He's been to federal prison. Dude, look up my crime. Conspiracy to traffic rattlesnakes. Are you kidding me?
Well, that's the whole thing. But you got to.
Well, I have eviction, Robbie.
But you got to say you went to federal prison. I went to federal prison, and there's articles about this. Parlato again, Frank Report about how was the in-house counsel for the Bloods.
There's articles about me everywhere.
When I got that one, it doesn't matter. They're going to tell me this. He went to federal prison. Yeah, went to federal prison. You don't want to fuck with a guy that's been to federal prison. The fuck,
Rich, where'd they put you?
I went in and I was in Brooklyn MDC for a while, and then I started after the thing about the mob came out, that there was no mob connection. They tried to say I was crazy, so they sent me up to Devon's in Massachusetts to the mental ward to get evaluated, and then they sent me back to MDC. And I was like, they cheered when I got back to MDC. Like the Russian mob was the happiest people in the world because, Richie's back. We might get off on our cases now because they have legal rights. The Russians are great, but they half of them can't read, in Russian. They can't do English is like terrible. So it was like, they love me. The Bloods love me too. I saved so many people from time because they were trying to fuck them with all those guys with dummy pleas, giving them like an extra 5 or 10 years on drug cases. I told them, don't take the case, fire your public defender, tell the judge I know my rights, I know the rights under this act and that act and the other act, and judge, they're not telling me my rights. And I gave them I wrote it down for them what to say when they went to court. And the judges were dumbfounded. They looked at the public defender and they're like, is this true? You didn't tell him that this is, well, judge, we had to deal with it. Get the fuck out of here. The judges were going crazy. Then at a certain point, they all realized that all of the guys that were doing this came from the same unit. And then they put 2 and 2 together. And they realized it was me, and they changed me over to another unit. They played games. Then after that, I went up to Allenwood.
I'm from Hawaii.
But when I got to Allenwood, in 2020, like January, and then like COVID started like right after that. So Allenwood was a pain in the ass because we were on lockdown the whole time. Imagine being on lockdown for a whole fucking year. It was just terrible. So that was it was not fun. But I got out.
Oh, thank God I was out of there before that hit.
Where did they send you? Were you in Coleman?
I was first they had me at Orlando, and then when they designated me, they sent me to Jessup.
Oh, Jessup, Jesus! How was Jessup? Were you at a low or a camp?
I was at camp.
Yeah, you were camp. Fucking rattlesnakes are in camp. They put me in a low. First, when you go to the detention centers, it's like a pen. It's like a maximum level. So I was at maximum levels for the first couple of years because I didn't get done with the case. Then when they were designated, they put me in a low. They couldn't put me in a camp because I had a detainer because of a state case. Because the people in Staten Island were trying to keep me out of Staten Island too. They would sue me for that too. Oh, that was crazy. So once it all got resolved, they basically got me out of there like real quick. So,
they got me out of Orlando. I was in Orlando for a month, and then they finally designated me to Jessup, and it was crazy because you get all those case jumpers, and they try to make shit out of nothing, and it's like, when you get in there, you're showing your papers.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's a big thing. Like, that's one thing about jail people don't understand. You got to have your papers because there's 3 things that they don't want to see you as. They don't want to see you as a cop. They don't want to see you as a rat. And they don't want to see you as a chomo or a child molester.
A chomo, right.
You got to check in right away. That means that you got to go and tell the guard, I need to go to solitary. I don't feel safe.
Yep.
And so if you're a cop, you're a rat, or you're a chomo, it's over for you in jail.
Yeah, it's done. It's done.
They have little special jails. They call cheese factories for cops and rats. So that's what they send those guys. And the chomos, that's all. The chomos are all at the lows. So where I was, it was everywhere. Fucking chomos.
They had a couple chomos. They had a couple chomos in the camp, and people found out, and they got transferred right away back to the low.
Yeah, the chomos were.
They're protected.
I was in Devon's, one of the most famous chomos ever. Anthony Weiner. I was with Anthony Weiner in. I was with a lot of famous people actually. I was with Bernie Madoff's brother at NBC for a while. He was there. He told us the whole story about how they used to defraud the SEC. They had the room on the 11th floor, and he told us how like it was a couple of cousins and him, and like 4 people knew what was going on. And so whenever the SEC needed some stuff, he'd have them upstairs on like the 22nd floor. They'd be dining them, and they'd have cookies for them and coffee and whatever they wanted, all spread. And they'd be like, Peter, we need some of the research from this company and that company. And so he'd go and he'd call down to the 11th floor. So I need to come pick up the research on this, this, and this. And so then he'd get there and he'd bullshit with them and this and that and the other thing. And then about 20 minutes later, he'd say, let me go see if that research is ready. He'd go down there. You know, they was pulling it from the library. But in reality, they were making it right then and there. So they had the fucking binder there, and they made the book, and it's all clean, and the research and everything else. And he gets down there, and he's like, "This is no fucking good. This looks like you just made it." It's like, "But Peter, we did just make it." "Yeah, what the fuck? We're gonna get fucking pinched." So they're taking the thing, they open up the book, and they're running it across the table down this way. They're taking coffee and dripping it on the thing, making it look like it was, you know, to make it look like it was worn. It was a few years old. This and that.
Right.
And they bring it up. They go there and they bring it up to the SEC people. They say, "Oh yeah, we found it. Here you go." And so 20 minutes later, the SEC people say, "Oh yeah, we got it. Thank you. Everything seems to be in order." Yeah, that's how they did it. That's how they passed their order. Where they did that. So Peter Madoff was there. I had another guy who was the Silk Road. You know, Ross Ulbricht. So I wasn't with Ross Ulbricht, but I was with his number 2 guy, who was Variety Jones, basically. His name was Roger Thomas Clark, and they got him in Thailand, and he basically. You know, they had to extradite him and everything else. And I was helping him in MDC with some of his stuff because they silver plattered him. They gave him, and they actually broke the law in Reykjavik. You know, they would to get into the server to find him and everything else. So I was helping him out. He's working on a commutation right now. He's a Canadian citizen, but he was a funny guy. I also have another guy who's in there still. I've written about him named Phil Kenner, and he was a hockey. Guy for, you know, played for RPI, and then he was a big guy for the hockey players. He was a financial guy for them, and they said he was caught up in this huge, you know, land deal in Hawaii and in Cabo San Lucas and everything else, and they threw him away into jail, and he got out, and then they busted him back in on for no reason whatsoever. It was a silver bullet situation.
Dude, I had Big Will from the New York Giants in there with me. Yeah, Big Will was in there with me. I had the CEO for Tyco Toys. I had the guy who took the fall for offshore betting in the Bahamas. I had that guy was in there with me. The guy who did remember the stuff that went down with the celebrities with the nudes coming out? He hacked all the celebrities' Facebooks and everything, and he put their nudes out. Yeah. He was in there with me. I had the ninja.
I was with Scarelli too, Martin Scarelli. You know, the farmer bro. He was a cool guy. He would get everybody books. He got everybody self-help books that wanted one. He had like all his rich buddies made a non-for-profit that bought books for I really loved him.
Right. I had the Ninja Brothers in Orlando with me, the guys who were doing all those home invasions in Florida and killing people.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. They were in there with me. And then the piece of shit who threw his baby off the Skyway Bridge.
Oh, you had him?
Yeah, he was in there.
Did you have to beat the shit out of him? What happened to him?
Dude, he got protective right away.
Yeah, he had to go in right away, right? To check in.
Yeah, he came into Orlando, and the next morning he was in protective custody.
Yeah, that's how those people operate. You gotta.
Yeah,
they're not gonna roll. They're not gonna.
All the chomos that came in there, they got protective custody the next morning when they came in at night.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I don't think they should get protective custody.
No, they shouldn't.
Yeah, they'd all get killed.
They need an island and throw them all on an island.
Oh no!
Yeah, if they're going to be protected, and I mean, they should. You know, they did their crime, which is just freaking disgusting to begin with. They should be able to face whatever prison is for them.
No. At least I'm going to tell you something. The problem with prison is that they treat pedophilia like it's a disease, and this is Obama did this. And really, it's a disgusting thing. They go to these places and they try to do classes and try to rehabilitate them. And sometimes
they get protected right away.
These dirtbags is a lead antidepressant to the back of the head. I hate to say it. I think I'm really usually against the death penalty, but I'm with DeSantis and with what they did in Florida for that. Because these
100%.
No way. Like you'll go to I had my little niece and nephew with me to come visit me one time. I had one of these motherfuckers looking at my fucking niece. And I could feel it from across the fucking room. And then, it's just the disgusting people. There's no way you can do anything. There's no way.
100%. The thing in Jessup, Rich, is I had a lot of the drug dealers that were the high-end drug dealers that were hitmen and everything from Puerto Rico that were in Jessup.
Okay.
You know, they were on their last bit, and they were just waiting to get out.
All right.
Hey, Nine Chins.
Nine Chins, what's up, sir? It's people don't realize it's prison is it's a society that is true justice, but it's a effed up society at that as well.
Yeah, it's the law of the jungle. That's what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
Describe it.
100%. It's just because, Rich, what sucked about me is I was a celebrity at the time, so I had higher ups giving me special treatment, and it was like, shut your fucking pie hole, dude. It was like when I got transferred to Jessup, I had the guy in charge of the camp move me to a 2-cell.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, hell no. Hell no. I'm staying on the beach. Fuck you. And he goes, it's not your decision. You're going. So that first night I got in a fight.
There you go.
You know, and it doesn't. You better stand your ground, or you're going to be labeled as a pussy.
You got it. A lot of times, you know, you're in a situation where it's unavoidable. You know, and they're going to test you right away. They're going to, like, especially when you go someplace, they're going to test you right away.
Oh, trust me, I was in the pisser.
Yeah.
I got tested the first night.
Yeah, they like to do it. And unless you go in there and, you know, you defend yourself, it's all over.
It's over. It's over. And it's everything. I've never been in trouble, Rich. And Rips had me reading everything about Jessup. About
Michelle, message me right now.
About federal prison and everything. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's do this. I deal with exotic animals, lions, tigers, everything. Fuck that. There ain't a human that's going to threaten me.
Yeah. That's how you got it. That's how you got to do it. And if people understood what it was like on the inside, they would have a different view of prison and a different view of how they do things. Like and I said, for some of the people that go there, it's actually a step up. Like I'd be there, and all the guys they got in from Queens and like Far Rockaway and the Bronx and all these. They're there with all their buddies. The young drug dealers in their 20s, and they've been in juvie with all these guys. They've done a state bid with these guys.
Yeah, the jibs.
They get 3 squares a day. They got nothing to worry about. They sit around. You know, they try to get their K2 and smoke that. They play, you know, either dominoes or whatever all day long. And you know, that's what they do. And then they tell stories about how they had sex with white girls, and they were all like wannabe rappers. And that was a whole subculture. This whole group of them, and it's a great time for them. They know they're going to be in there for 3, 4, 5 years, and then go back out. They go back on the street and do what they were going to do. And they're all affiliated with gangs, be it the Bloods or the Crips or the Young Guns, this one, that one, and it is what it is. That's that group, you know. Then you got a bunch of you got the other groups. You got like the Italians, you got the Russians, and all the Italians stick together. Doesn't matter what family you are in New York, they all stuck together. The Russians, they kind of hung out with the Italians. It depended on
the Russians do meld. You know, they do. I noticed that in Jessup too. The Russians meld with whoever's, you know, most people there.
And then you had a lot of Latins. You had a lot of different Latins, but all Latins.
The Cubans,
the Salvadorians,
and the
Cubans
Puerto Ricans.
Puerto Ricans were in a certain place. Venezuelans, if you had them, they were all different spots, and so that they would all be. A lot of them were gang affiliated that way. And then you'd have white collar guys, and then you'd have,
Mycelli was there for like 10 years. Worked his way down from high to the camp at his last bid, and he was a great guy, Puerto Rican, but he was a ruthless kid, and
it's guys that go in at 20 years old, and you're looking at them, they're 37, 38. They've been in for how many years, and then what they were at 20 with this crazy. The bastard that was this testosterone through the roof. At 37, 30, they're different, but they're made. I think they're much more dangerous after being in the prison for 17 or 18 years in the system.
Oh God, so,
yeah. Yes,
the one person, Rich, the one person I was in there was with that did not deserve to be there was, I could tell you, was he was from the Allman Brothers. He was the keyboard player. He was Gary Allman, and he got sent there because when they were on tour, the tour ended early. He came home, caught his wife with another guy, and the next day she went and bought a bunch of the drugs that she hid. She took all the pills out and hid the containers behind his dresser, and he got busted for conspiracy to manufacture methamphetamines and traffic methamphetamines.
How many years did he get?
He got 15 years.
Yeah, they have Star Wars numbers for drugs, man. Star Wars numbers, and for financial crimes too. Like these financial, you look at guys in the lows in the camps that are there for 15 years.
Dude, and I was the first day I'm in there. I'm in the library and I'm reading a book called The Allman Brothers, and it's talking about Gary Allman and everything. I go to lunch and I sit down at a table. Never do this. You just go sit at any table. I didn't know this. I'd never been to prison. I'd never been in trouble. Oh, you get your ass beat. But I sat down, and thank God, Gary Allman sat across from me. He goes, "Listen, what are you doing here?" I go, "Just trying to get lunch, bro." And he goes, "Get your ass up and move." I go, "Seriously?" He goes, "No, sit down." And it was Gary Allman, and thank God it was him. Because the guys at the table, a guy that was sitting at the table before me had just left the prison. So I got accepted. And Gary goes, "I know you. I know you from TV." I go, "No, you don't, dude. I just look like that guy." And he goes, "Don't bullshit me." And we hit it off, thank God. Because he was one of the respected guys in the camp. Because he was Gary Allman.
Yeah.
And thank God, because Gary saved my life that day.
Yeah.
I would have had my ass beat. And God works in mysterious ways, bro. And Gary took me in, and he goes, "Listen, we're going to your cell." I go, "I'm on the beach, bro." And he goes, "All right, show me your papers." And right then he knew I was who I was denying to be. And he said, "Listen, do you know who I am?" I said, "I have no clue, dude. I don't care who you are. I don't want to know who you are." He goes, "The name's Allman." I was like, "Get the fuck out of here. I was just reading this book this morning."
There you go. That's great, man.
Bobby, I was just sent something right?
Uh-huh.
And they're saying, Kendra, are you still here? So they pulled something up on Facebook, right? And they're trying to say that I worked as a DJ at a radio station.
Oh my God.
And they're commenting and they're like, she worked at a radio station in big capital letters. That's what she means about working in the music industry. What a joke. Why am I surprised? That's how she twists her life.
Lisa didn't do that, but I did do Sunday nights on KNAC. So F off.
KNAC, oh my God. But the best, you got to hear some of these comments. I knew someone who worked at a radio station. They cleaned the recording rooms for an hour twice a day. Yes, and she also worked at a bank. Impressive when you only mention some of the job description, much like the way Chief Parasite reads parts of filings and motions to deceive people. And then this other one says, she said she used to travel with bands, lots of lizards or band lizard. Very, very interesting. Holy smokes. A lot of flops coming from the Fleesa. Paula flop. Now we see flop stock. Oh my God, what a fraud. Fraud.
You guys can call fraud all you want. Call fraud all you want because I know Lisa personally. And listen,
I had to
a
show
fraud
you,
is definitely not is what she is. And you guys know me. And you guys have heard Cece DeVille on mine. So,
Kendra, do you hear that?
I have nothing but upfront about my life.
I had to say
100%.
I've had people tell me, it's like, one of my friends actually, it looks like he just got elected to city council in New York, a guy named Frank Morano. He's got a overnight radio show. He's like one of the top overnight guys. And he's interviewed a lot of people. And he says, look, for some reason, people who have been to prison are just more interesting than anybody else.
It's true, Rich. It's true. You know why? Because we have a different outlook on life.
Yeah, it's true.
When I went in there,
got their experience, some of you may have done wrong. You paid your dues. You know what I mean? Like, you have a lot more experience than others who just like bullshit about it and talk about things. You actually have that real life experience about it.
Oh, 100%.
You've both seen being on the inside. You've both seen it go down. Like it can
Rich,
go down.
Rich. When I went in there, when I went into prison, I've never been in trouble. I go to federal prison, and I'm the guy that is hugs and handshakes. And what do they do in prison when you first get there? They want a fist bump. And that's what you got to do while you're there. And when I got out of prison and Poison was on tour and I went to go see the tour and I'm hanging out all day with the guys backstage and people are trying to fist bump me, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Either shake my hand like a man or get the fuck out of here. I've been to prison. I know what this shit is. It's a bunch of bullshitting motherfucking lying pieces of shit that fist bump you.
Yep.
Easy, guys.
And that's what... Rich, am I right or am I right?
You're right. It's all fist bumps and it's all... it's a different place. It's just a different
Take your hat off when you come in here. Take your
pull up your pants, tuck your shit in, all that stuff.
Yeah, tuck your shirt in. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Easy.
Wow, Robbie, tell us how you feel about it.
Oh, I told the COs. I told the COs, fuck you.
Yeah, those guys
are. The COs are they're the worst. Especially when you get a young CO.
Lisa, you're making me drunk.
That's Frank Zappa.
You get a young CO, it's the worst.
I pulled it off my wall.
Rich, oh my God. I had, what was his name? Michael. He was like, Rich, his name was Michael. He was a kid. And he comes in there. He's busted in Miami for dealing cocaine.
Okay.
And he gets sentenced to the to Jessup to, I'm like, what the hell is he getting sentenced for so much cocaine? And he's getting sentenced to the low, and then he's over at the bullshit I was at, and he comes up, and we're in visitation. My family's coming up, and his dad is there to visit. And I'm waiting to go in to visitation with everybody at the camp.
Uh-huh.
And we go in there, and he goes, "Hey, I don't want to bug you, but can you say hi to my dad and sign an autograph for him?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, why?" And he's a good kid. He's a nice kid. He's a big kid, muscle bound and everything, and he's a good kid.
Never mind. I don't have to do that. No, I don't have to do it. I don't have to show anybody.
His dad, Rich, comes to find out his dad owns basically the oh God, what's their last name? They own the island. Oh God, I can't think of it right now. The islands in the Caribbean. What are they?
What, like in the Bahamas?
In the Caribbean.
What do you mean?
The islands. What's the big island there that everybody goes to party?
What, the DR?
No, not Dominican Republic. Out there in the Caribbean. It's the famous island.
Caribbean, dude.
It's the famous island, the big one, where everybody goes to party. Oh my God!
I know what you're
I
talking
can't think
about.
of it.
There's a lot of places you go to party in the Caribbean.
It's not Curacao. It's off of Curacao.
Oh, Curacao.
The big one where the girl was killed.
Aruba.
Barbados, not Barbados.
Aruba.
Aruba.
It's Aruba. It's they own Aruba.
I don't think one person owns Aruba.
Dude, they own Aruba. And you can't own the island, but they control the liquor license and everything on Aruba.
Mm-hmm.
Cancun?
No, Aruba.
Oh.
And they own Aruba. And his dad is like, "Oh my God, I love your TV show." And his dad is the main guy for Aruba. He owns all the liquor license.
Wait, since I joined late, why are we reminiscing about prison?
I know we got the prison stories.
Right. Well, we had two former federal prisoners, but hey, Lisa, I gotta get going. But thank you for having me on.
Michael, love you, bro.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Tomorrow, Mike. We got to do our thing. Actually, it's today for me because I'm in the East Coast. But we're going to be on the we're going to be doing our thing tomorrow morning. Or so we usually start taping about 10:30, and then we put it up after that. But that'll be fun. We got a whole bunch of stuff to argue about.
Yeah, we look forward to your podcast on Wednesdays.
Oh God, that'll be funny.
I usually post in the afternoon. This is. I'm still so excited that this is happening right now.
Oh, so much.
But I'll tell you, I'll talk about something I was talking about before. I was looking up the definition of trader business, and so that could be an issue for them because a lot of stuff that doesn't count as a trader business, and they have to show that like it may get past the motion to dismiss phrase. So that's the whole thing. It's not clear whether or not the judges will dismiss the whole thing right out. So I'm really thinking.
Who's accused? Who's accused of that? Me or everybody?
Everybody. They're saying that we conspired to violate the trader business protections. In the unfair. What's the name of that the statute? the UTPA, the Unfair Trade Practices Act under Florida law, and so or the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. That's what it is.
And how did we do that?
I don't know. It doesn't say it. But really, that's really what it is. It doesn't say it. So I say to myself, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go right to discovery. It gets more fun that way. You know,
right.
Because what happens is you do a motion, and like for all the people that are watching, it's like the motions are fucking boring. It's like lawyers. You go to school and do homework for your whole fucking life. So you got to write this long thing that's like 15 pages long, and you're citing cases, and you're putting a couple of exhibits in. It's not really that fun. But when you get to discovery, that's when it gets to be fun. You get all the shit. You got to deliver the goods, and so that's when it's like, okay, what did they ask for? Like I asked for everything. Like I asked for just everything. I get this and that and the other thing, and then we have everything, and then we can start doing the motion. And the big motion in a case like this is the motion at the end of discovery, which is the motion, the Rule 56 motion for summary judgment. But before that, you get all the discovery, and then you have depositions. And you know goddamn well, I'm getting a videotaped deposition of Jeremy Hales. And you know goddamn well Jeremy Hales is the plaintiff, so he goes first.
Right.
So no matter what, he's the first person on there. The way that they usually schedule the depositions is for the people on the list of the caption. So like I'll go last. It would be me and then all the defendants. I'd be the last defendant. And then if we have to get any third party people, like we may subpoena Megan Fox, we may subpoena Tug, we may subpoena people. So the George is definitely, she's like the first person I'm subpoenaing.
Oh, definitely.
Slug.
Slug. Here's the funny thing. The only person that I know of that has actually defamed Jeremy Hales is Slug. And Slug's the first one to get scared out of his wits because he knew it, and now he's on his side.
He wet his panties.
Slug's the one who actually defamed him.
He wet his panties and ran to Jeremy and apologized and said, "Please change my diaper."
Rich,
now let me ask you this.
I want Jeremy's son depoted.
Yes.
By a gentle lawyer.
Jeremy's son actually is relevant because he's got that video. The problem is I think that they may not have put Mike in because Mike posted that video, but I think I could post. I think I might have posted the video myself, so I think it's relevant. And plus, I could post.
I had him on my channel.
Right, I can post it now, so maybe I'll just do that.
Jason was on my channel. He had an interview on here.
Yep, there's a video on here with him.
Yep.
Rich, and all I'm gonna say is he's an incredible young man.
Yeah. Yes, he is. And what Jeremy did to him, and even after these many videos, is disgusting. It's terrible.
It's absolutely disgusting. Rich, I said this. All right. I'm sure Rich will agree with me. If my son came forward and said those stuff about me, I would have told my viewers, listen, please do not attack my son. Please do not. Let me fix what's wrong with me and my son.
Right.
Because my children are the world to me.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing in the world to me, above everything else. Then my wife, then my farm, my animals. And it had me crying, Rich.
Yeah. You're right.
So when we ask for discovery and stuff, and then we get he wants all this information and stuff between me and you or me and Robbie, everybody talking and stuff. Are we able to get the his records of who he's talked to, between him and George or him and Deanna, his employees?
All of that if it's relevant to the claims, yes.
Oh, but he put his business in there now, so it's all his employees.
Yeah, we get a full panoply of stuff. Now, the big thing with the discovery, I'll tell you this now from experience, is that you need to be very specific in the discovery requests, because discovery starts Rule 26. So all the stuff we've really been talking about at this point, Rule 8 for pleadings, Rule 11 for sanctions, Rule 12 for motion to dismiss. There's a bunch of crap in between. And you get to Rule 26, that's when discovery starts. And then you got
Right.
27, 28, 29, 30, up to like 34, 35 is all different types of discovery. So Rule 26 is discovery generally and disclosure generally, and then you have different devices for discovery. So you have what are called interrogatories. That's one thing. And that's
Right.
Rule 33, and that's when you ask questions. You only get to ask 25 questions for interrogatories for one set. And and basically if you write the question the wrong way, and you don't get the answer, they can answer it, and you get nothing out of it. So you got to be very crafty if you're going to do that. There's another thing which is document disclosure. So you ask them for all the documents they have of a certain type, and you can't be open-ended because the courts will strike something and say they won't give you anything under something if it's just a fishing expedition. It's got to be targeted documents.
Oh,
So
but that's what he does. He does the whole fishing thing.
You have to be crafty that way too. But then the other things that you can have devices. You have what's called a notice to admit. And that is actually one of the most powerful devices in litigation, because what a notice to admit is you serve somebody with just factual statements and you have them to admit or deny it. But none of it is to the core of the issue, but what it does is it resolves facts, right? So you can say, admit that Jeremy, let's say Jeremy Hales was at such and such place on such and such date, admit, deny. Jeremy Hales, and you list all these different things to establish facts into evidence. And so some of the stuff that he may have claimed in the past that he did or didn't do, some of the truthful things that he said was true that were really false, you put those in the notice to admit, and you can establish there that he's either telling the truth or he's lying. So I've already started cataloging some of this stuff where he said stuff. And I'm going to be hitting him with notice to admit. And
oh my God, I can help you with that because I've got a lot of stuff I caught him lying in.
And you know him longer than me, so that's the thing. You'll probably be able to know more shit on him to be able.
You guys, listen. Wait a minute, 1 second, Tori. Everybody's saying leave kids out of this. You don't know the situation. You don't know what's going on currently, nor will you till this happens. But trust me, 100% on this. He wants to talk his piece. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
You have to figure out how his son is relevant to the alleged conspiracy to do unfair trade and deceptive trade practices. So that's the whole point too. If you're bringing him in generally as a rebuttal witness, that's totally different.
No.
But what is he a fact witness of related to the deceptive and unfair trade practices? And that's the point. That he said that we've engaged and we've conspired to engage in unfair and deceptive trade practices. He hasn't defined what the unfair and deceptive trade practice is for us, right? So, like, what exactly are we doing? If you have unfair and deceptive trade practice, like if you're mislabeling something, that's one thing, but it's really, I can't see what exactly is he's being hurt, how he's being harmed, and what we as a group are doing it other than, putting out a commentary and opinion. We're doing content creation as well. To the extent that he does it all day long. That's what he creates content and he begs for money. That's what he does for a living. And so how is it deceptive? How are we doing anything different than what he's doing? I don't know. It's kind of.
They pointed out that I have a thing. If you want to support the channel, you can send a tip here. Like, I'm making money off my channel. Like, I can make money off my channel. You do.
Well, it's better than saying, oh my God, if you guys don't start sending super chats, I'm going to turn on the ads. Or starting off your stream with going, what? No super chats yet?
The thing is, kids.
The analogy is, if you want to think about like how this is how I might explain it. This is how I present it to the judge and potentially to the jury. Is that everybody here, Jeremy Hales included, and everybody, it's almost like we're closer to performance actors in a certain sense, because people are here for there's an entertainment component to what we're doing. We're informing people, we're educating them, we're entertaining them. So people are entertained by what's going on here. So if we were actors, right, and we were act like a troop of actors. We were troop one, and Jeremy and his cronies were troop two. This would never be a case. There could never be trade. There'd have to be very specific claims of how one troop of actors was deceptive towards another troop. You understand?
Yeah.
So I don't think he gets there with his complaint as it is. He doesn't say what's there.
And I don't think his son's relevant to that anyway.
But if we're going to create content,
well, that's where you're wrong, because this builds who he is.
You're talking about a character witness.
Yeah.
What?
You're talking about a character witness. That's all I have.
I have a question.
Yeah, you're talking about a character witness who builds what he is and who he is.
Yeah, and they'll be. You could probably subpoena him. You just got to. Relevance is a low threshold, but the argument, he's on the outside, like he's on the cusp of relevance. You know,
right?
You know, unless Jeremy brings him in and says, and then Mike Volpe published a video of my son, and then it puts him totally in the ball game. But you know, Mike Volpe's not.
Well, he already did that about Lisa.
Yeah.
Oh, about the son?
Yeah.
Yeah, his son was on here.
Oh, good. Then he's totally on there. We can bring him in. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And listen,
I just don't think
I've already said too much, but
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think
he came on here. He spoke his piece because he wanted to. The platform was there. I mean, you don't need to use his son. I mean, there's a video there if that's necessary. But I'm just, I don't like that. I didn't like a lot of people want me to talk to his exes and stuff, and I don't think for what the case is about that there's certain for character witnesses. I get that, but I just think that what the charges are, I'm not sure about the relevancy. I don't know.
Sylvie, do you know that?
Character's not going to be relevant. The character is not going to be relevant. What the rule is it's going to be the allegations that are made in the complaint and in the answer and in the counterclaims. In the pleadings, the facts that are alleged is this.
Christy, do you know he doesn't want to
say those facts? So the character. That's what gets his son. On the cusp of things. I don't see him as like a real super necessary witness, and I kind of feel like
does he mention his son in it though?
I'm kind of old school in that you leave the civilians out of it.
Right.
Like, he brought my kids into it. Rich, he brought my kids into it.
No, he's an asshole. That's true. Well, maybe you do that. Who knows?
But because I didn't see the part. Did we know? Did you read the whole thing? Do we know that he mentioned his son in the case in the filing? Because I know he talked about it.
What's his son's name?
Jason.
Jason. Let me see. I'll see if he's in here. I have the thing right here. Jason. Jason. No, there's no mention of Jason in the lawsuit, and he wouldn't do that. I don't think Shockett's not that stupid. He's stupid, but he's not that stupid. He's going to put his son in the firing line. I think a judge might very well agree. What is they're going to ask? What's the relevance of Jason's testimony?
Exactly. I think that there's enough there that we don't even need to bring.
He's never appeared on any Jeremy's live streams, correct?
No.
Yeah,
not on Jeremy's. No.
He's estranged from his father. It's not something that it would be. I don't think a judge would allow it, to tell you the truth.
Right.
And what it would do, I think the prejudicial value of anything that it would bring in, even if he would say how bad he was, I don't think anything like you would say how bad Jeremy is goes to the actual elements of what need to be proved.
Right. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is about a conspiracy. It's about a bunch of people getting together that Jeremy thinks got together, made an agreement to hurt him and to fuck with his business, and then everybody acting in certain ways to fuck with his business.
Right. He brought me into this saying I was a drug addict. I'm currently using. He quit filming with me because I'm currently using, and he brought my kids into this. He brought all three of my children into this.
Well, maybe a counterclaim against him. That shit. There's plenty of room to counterclaim, right?
Oh, I don't even think that's a question. I think that's happening with
That's
at least
that's not a
half the
question.
people. But yeah, I'm just like,
what is it we say, Rich? 10 million?
Yeah, well, 10 million easy minimum. That's the point. I think we have to go for a certain amount of money, probably about 5 million in compensatory, and then maybe another minimum of treble damages. Maybe we're talking 15 or 20 million for the time we do the punitives, because
Christy, trust me. Christy,
right?
you don't know what's going on. And I'm not going to say what's going on until it comes out.
The thing is that punitive damages are there for the anti-SLAPP. So when you're engaged in a situation where you're trying to stop the free exchange of ideas, the free expression, the free press, you open yourself up to a huge anti-SLAPP issue. And in Florida, under Florida law, like right away, you have to have a hearing on the anti-SLAPP. So if I interpose the counterclaim under anti-SLAPP, then one of the first things that we're going to have to do in this case is have a hearing on the anti-SLAPP in the federal court. So we'll be rushed into court right away and have a hearing, and that's kind of part of the strategy too. I'm going to ask for a whole bunch of discovery, but I'm going to ask for some specific stuff related to that motion too. So the case might be over on that from that situation too.
Right.
And JC, you're entitled to your opinion.
He's going to have to show that there's some meat on his bones. He's going to have to, in the very beginning of an anti-SLAPP motion, he's going to have to come in and say, yeah, these people did engage in deceptive and unfair trade practices first. Here are the trade practices that they engaged in. These are legitimate trade practices that are covered under the statute. They were deceptive, and so he's going to have to lay out his evidence to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It's going to be show and tell. He's going to have to do show and tell very early because of the anti-SLAPP. And so if he's got a bullshit case like he has now with the other case, it'll come out very, very early. And so the case that will be the trajectory of the case. It'll be the force will be against him at that point. The anti-SLAPP.
Right. I'm just like,
yes,
I just can't believe they turned it into
100%.
a conspiracy. And before it was Bruce's anti what the hell thing. Now it's a week's conspiracy or a week's scheme. And if you look at the timeline when all this started and how anybody came on a panel, and it's just this is impossible. It's crazy that he's literally calling it that when he's the one who's done that. With Megan and Tug and all that. I've literally come on to stop him from hurting people like Michelle
JC,
and John.
You're all good. You're all good, JC. Just
what's wrong?
No, just believe in the system.
If the kids are legal. Yeah, I just don't think that Jason is necessary to be. I mean, if anything, the video's there. It's out there. You know what I mean? If that's needed, that's him honestly on his own talking about it. You know what I mean? There's no need to bring him in. I don't think I think his video says enough.
Yes, Sylvie.
So I mean, but I just don't think it falls under any of these claims against any of us.
No, it doesn't.
It's a character
against you
witness.
guys. It doesn't against you guys. Where it comes out is you guys will see where it comes out. But I'm not going to say more than that. But don't speak on my children's behalf, especially when my children. Listen, I've got a 25-year-old, a 26-year-old, sorry, a 23-year-old, and a 21-year-old that all live at home. And I do everything I can for those children because they are my world.
Right.
And people that are close to me know that.
Right.
And
yeah, the question is though, Robbie, the question is this:
Yeah.
This is law is different than the street, is different than like the media. It's a very laser focused type thing, and
Right.
that's why we have the rules of evidence and everything else. And so, if you're looking at a lawsuit to get back at somebody, it's the worst way to do it. It's the most expensive, it's the most time consuming.
I'm not looking at to get back, Rich.
Well, if you're going to look to get back, don't do it in the lawsuit. That's the whole point. The point is that lawsuit is it's a stupid game. It's really what it is. It's a game of stupid rules, and you got to try to do gotcha better than the other guy does. That's like the whole fucking thing. That's really what it is in a nutshell. You got to be like gotcha, 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 and that's really that's what lawyers do. Lawyers try to twist things because they're trying to do gotcha into what they need you to say, as opposed to really what happened. That's what the whole point is. And I don't think this is even going to be close, this one, in the sense that just from any view, there's nothing here. There's no substance to what's there. A lot of times when you walk into something, you could explain the case to somebody in 30 seconds, right? And they can understand from that point kind of who's going to win.
This is a civil lawsuit.
This one is how do you explain this thing? What happened? Well, Jeremy is a paranoid motherfucker, and he thinks that we're all out to get him. And so, he's got all these followers, and everybody else together doesn't have the number that he has, but he's still trying to say that we're after him and out to get him. And he's trying to say that as opposed to using his media platform to try to, say something, he's trying to use the courts, and he's trying to money whip us. And the point is that he doesn't have a real claim to money whip us with. So we're going to go back at him because there's actual laws in place that say if you try to money whip people, especially people who are in the media and people that have free speech rights, then you can get a lot of trouble for that. That's what this case is in a nutshell, I think. And I think that's the best narrative that anybody could give in 30 seconds or so.
Rich, I agree with you, but at a point it became personal with me when he involved my family.
But Rob, you can't be personal in litigation. You got to put it to the side. If you want to be personal in the street and crack them over the head, if you want to be personal in the media and call them a bitch because you got litigation privilege now, then do that. But you got to be like strategic here. This is like it's a stupid game, and you got to go gotcha, and that's the point. So, and it's about storytelling too. One of the great storytellers in American history was Abraham Lincoln. He was a lawyer, and he was a good lawyer because he knew how to turn a case into a story. And so that's the point here. Jeremy's creating content, but I don't think he's very good at the art of. He's good at storytelling. That's kind of what he does. But he's not good at the art of legal storytelling because he makes all sorts of shit up all the time. And so we need to figure out. I think if we could put our narrative together better than he could put his, I don't think he can tell anybody what we all did in 30 seconds. I really don't. Can he find a way to say in 30 seconds what we did? I just don't understand his counter narrative. What does he tells his people all sorts of stuff, and it's more like we're going to get them, and they're all going to go to jail, and one of them is flipping, and we're going to get them, but he's not putting together the cohesive, 10,000 foot level that you would explain to an 8-year-old and say, oh yeah, so mommy or daddy, we're going to go to court tomorrow, and why are we going to court tomorrow? Oh, well, we're going to court tomorrow because some asshole named Jeremy sued us, and he's got no case, but we have to go there anyway, and then we're going to be able to sue him for a lot of money because he has no case, and you're not allowed to do that in America. What's he saying? Oh, there are all these people out there, and they're out there to get me, and I'm going to use the courts to whip them. That's his story right there. That's a story.
Right.
That's not a winning story.
Right. I get it. I get it. It's you just get to this point where enough is enough, dude. It's like keep running your mouth about me. And let's talk about life. Yeah. Because I've been 100% open about my life. 100%. I've told everybody every time. Anytime I was in trouble, I told everybody about everything. I told everybody the facts, nothing but facts. Judge me how you want. And
Tori,
what?
You had a question for Rick before.
Yep. Rich, you know how you said you got to remember when you do this thing, you only have 25 questions.
Mm-hmm.
You have 25 questions. Doesn't that mean Lisa has 25 questions? Robbie has 25 questions. Michelle,
Yes.
each person has 25 questions. So if you guys,
in a set of interrogatories, you do in a set, and then you can get court permission to do more interrogatories. You can get court permission to go over the 25, but you get 25 under the rules as it is. So everybody, all 10 there, get 25 questions.
So you guys have 250 questions to coordinate.
Yeah, at a minimum.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of questions, especially when you got 10 people you're going up against.
Yeah, but he's going to try to say the same answer for every
that actually
question.
Communicate.
He's
Yeah,
going to try to say the same answer for every question. That's why you have to do detailed questions. If you leave the question open-ended at all, he can screw around with it. And
can you ask him anything?
Just anything that's relevant. Yeah, anything that's relevant to the claims or defenses or counterclaims. That's what you can ask me.
So his character?
Well, you stay away from that because then they're going to say it's like not relevant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, character isn't as big as you think character is.
It really isn't.
Now, character is very different from honesty. From honesty and propensity to tell the truth. That's always relevant. But character.
Well, that's why I would ask character questions, character witness.
You don't want to. You have to phrase it differently. Though. It's not saying you're asking character questions because the judge will say no, it's not relevant. But you got to say I'm asking questions that are relevant to the truthfulness of the witness or the truthfulness of the plaintiff, and discrepancies in prior testimony, discrepancies in prior statements, that type of stuff. So you can do that.
I can't wait to see Martha deposed.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I definitely want to see happen because I don't know if she'll lie for him or not. And we watched in his deposition how he's trying to throw her under the bus by oh, well, she put that together. She put all this together. Like all the evidence that's supposed to be brought to the case or that day during the depo. She did this, she did that, or Deanna did it. He was throwing them under the bus, blaming them, So I'd like to see what she does, when she's asked specific questions, but that will happen. Obviously, I think she needs to be added to the case, but now that he's put the business on there, wouldn't that, she's part of the business.
Well, he's trying to claim that because it's a deceptive practice, and they deceived people to the detriment of his business. So he's trying to kind of make a general market type argument, meaning that I don't know, the equivalent would be like you have a hamburger joint, right? And so he owns a McDonald's, and you have a Burger King. And you say all beef burgers, but your burgers aren't all beef. They're like they have filler in them. And so he comes as McDonald's across the street and says, you were deceptive in your trade practices. You said your burgers were all beef. People went to you believing they were all beef, and it hurt my business. That's the claim he's trying to make.
Right.
And so I don't think he has that, though. I don't think he has that there.
But we're not doing anything with his business. I'm just doing my live shows and telling the truth. And all I want is, and I said it all along, is for him to stop hurting people. He's hurt that family way too much. And I stood up to stand up for this.
Rich, before her, he was attacking me left and right. And I right out told Lisa, listen, I'm going to address it once and that's it. And leave it alone. And it was left alone. And then all of a sudden he started with this other family. And he brought that into my chat, and I stayed away from it. Yeah. And I'm sorry I did when I found out what was going on. Then he attacked Guapo, and Lisa was like, Robbie, how many people does he have to hurt? And I said, you're right. Stop him.
And that's when I literally was like, enough. He's not the victim. He's the bully. And I showed everybody in certain videos that he was the bully. And it's been ongoing ever since. And I didn't know about Michelle. I didn't know what was going on there. And I found out. And then I started asking people, look, send me the information. So what's going on? And I openly admitted I did not like this guy. And I said, but you know what? If you send me proof, send me what he's done. And Rich, I swear to God, not one person sent me anything in his favor. Not one. He's been saying that they've stalked him for this whole time, and there is not 1 ounce of proof that they've stalked him. He thinks that them moving there is him being stalked, and that's already been thrown out. You know what I mean? With this thing. So, I mean, that's crazy. But show me something where she's stalking you, where she's filming you as you're driving by, where she's following you somewhere. Because he keeps pulling up to where she is, you know, and filming them. Yep. There's no evidence of her stalking. So,
listen, Rich, this poor family, I did not want to jump into the BS. So I ignored it. And I just answered questions that Marla Hughes would ask me or other people would ask me as honestly as I could. And I was, by the time everything was coming out, and then he attacked Guapo, I was like, Lisa, just stop him.
But the thing that really got me was, you know, not necessarily, well, I can't say not necessarily, was the fact that he was doing this and using her child to hurt them.
Yeah.
That's what got me. And I'm all about saving, protecting children. I mean, I was brought up that way, honestly. Kendra can vouch for that. I was brought up to protect my siblings. That's who I am. It's a big part of me. I protect my friends. I'm known as a warrior in a sense. You know, I'm always like the mom of the group, making sure everybody's okay. And when I found out what he was doing with this child and trying to get this child taken away, acting like he's a doctor, saying that the child doesn't need a feeding tube, and just like crazy stuff, trying to talk to the biological family and raising money on his channel to get a lawyer to have the child removed from them in an emergency removal order. I mean, just all this crazy stuff. It was like, no way. So it's not just like a non-stalking thing that they weren't, you know, he was blaming them for. This is all, to me, this was all about the child and protecting the child, which all his minions seem to think that they're doing. No, they're trying to take this child away from the only family that she knows and give him to a family that that has 10 children that none of them have, and they're rug addicts, and you know, and they don't even know who they're giving.
They would have aborted this child.
Yeah, this child was the woman tried to abort this child 5 times. Okay. So, and, you know, and then they're talking about that whether she has this disease or not. She does have this disease, and she also has some other things that they don't even know about that's going on with her, and they don't need to know about it. It's none of their business. So my whole fight was really for the child, and in fighting for the child, it's about fighting for the family. You know, we said something about the fence. We got the fence to go up. We got the Christmas thing. That's really where I was more apt to like making sure she had anything she needed for however long it would last her. And that included our family as well. You know, we've done good things for the family. And it's almost as if he's pissed off that someone is standing up to him, proving him to be the liar, and helping the family that he's been trying to destroy for 2 years. And that would be me. And others like Ray and Super Dave and Robbie, and you know what I mean? And Tori's here with us. You know what I mean? It's
Rich, I don't watch any of his stuff. And
no, I have to because
Lisa has to.
It's evidence.
I refuse to watch his channel. And just because I know him personally, I know who he is, I know what he is, and I know him personally, I don't trust him. Everything I've learned from him, I weaned myself away from him. And it was it was disgusting. And, Guapo can back up everything I say.
Yeah, look at this. He has people who live there locally and have seen this play out, concerned about even attending public meetings or crossing him in any way.
And
And I've met some of those people.
the more I learned from Lisa about Michelle and John, I've never even met them, Rich. And the stuff I see that's going on is like, who's stalking who?
Yeah. Rich, I have videos of him going by. Since we put the fence up and the cameras are actually on their property line, I have videos almost daily. If he was in Otter Creek, I have videos of him daily filming, driving by their property since November. Daily.
Yeah.
They've stopped now because he's been gone for a couple days. But, and in the interim, he's got Travis doing it. He's got Deanna doing it while he's gone, and George.
It's just, it's
there's
so,
a lot of
it's,
stuff,
Rich, it's so much more disgusting than you guys have even seen.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of evidence, let's put it that way. And I will definitely share it with you because we're defendants.
We're defendants
I haven't
now.
been served. You haven't been served, but
You have to do what's called a joint defense agreement or something like that. So we can maintain some everything. It's in civil litigation though, so everything has to kind of be given over.
Now, is he privy to that privileged information when he would ask for discovery?
Very little amounts of stuff that's privileged that's public, right? All the stuff that he claims are stuff that point to the conspiratorial agreement that we all have that he's claiming is all public stuff. Like it's going to be so nothing's really privileged. The big privileges that you have are because we're in Florida, especially. You have a healthcare privilege, like a HIPAA privilege. That's also in healthcare information. It's also enshrined in the Florida Constitution for protection of healthcare rights. So if there's any type of healthcare stuff in any way, shape, or form, you don't have to disclose that. Any obviously attorney-client privilege if you talk with an attorney. But there's other stuff that he might ask for, but there's something called relevance too. So if it's not relevant, he doesn't get to get it. So if he's asking for stuff that's like totally out of bounds.
So if I work with someone on different things, he can't ask for that, correct? That has nothing to do with him?
It depends. It depends. He has to tie it to so a claim that he's making or a defense that you're making or a counterclaim that you're making. So like.
But if it's a business that has nothing to do with him.
Well, that you can turn around and say that
it's irrelevant
here, and then he has to come back and give reasons why it's relevant.
Right.
So he can ask for it. He can ask for anything he wants, but everything he asks for, you're going to respond to it and say, "This is irrelevant. It's overbroad. I'm not going to answer any of these questions." And then finally, either negotiate it with shock it to language you can deal with, or it goes to the court to figure.
You can't negotiate with that idiot.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to get right to discovery, because this is going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle to get discovery. But I like the idea of having the anti-slap hearing first, and we're going to have to get some discovery from that. Then we fight over the rest. So
now, if you request to go to discovery, does that mean everybody else just follows suit with you?
No.
Or everybody?
Not necessarily, because the court would have to resolve all the motions first.
Right.
And what I would do is I would still preserve my right to try to dismiss the case, because I interpose all of the jurisdictional and fail to state a cause of action type defenses in my
strictly sorry
in my answer, so that if like 10 people or 9 people put in motions to dismiss, I can do a me too. If the court wants to dismiss the whole thing on the face, then I join in it, but and still preserve my rights to do whatever I need to do. So I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of different things I want to do. I want to hit him. I kind of want to get him kind of. I got to decide what I want to do with him.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a
Cool.
lot of options, and if I want to bring Shotgun in too, like I don't want to bring Shotgun in the same suit. I might bring him in a separate lawsuit, just to
There you go.
just cause him more problems, more heartache. So,
Well, that's what Ripsy said too. Rip said he was going to call you and talk to you about that.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's harassed me, so I'm on for that. You know. So, well, guys, I think that's Giddy on the topics. The case for tonight, anyway.
Yeah.
It's getting late there. It's 1 o'clock. We can't bridge here till 1, and he's got to get up and do another podcast in the morning.
Oh my goodness!
Well, I don't sleep. I'm one of these people that does. I'm going to go to bed and lay down. And I'll be up.
No sleep till Brooklyn.
Right. Brooklyn. That's right.
Oh man, I want to do a giveaway. What do we got here? We got 6. Let's see. I'm in the live chat. There we go.
There you go.
All
Hashtag no sleep till Brooklyn.
Let's see. I gotta set this up here. 1 sec. Let's see. Someone's like driving by my house. Okay. Hashtag what? No sleep till Brooklyn?
No sleep till Brooklyn.
That's pretty long.
Okay, Scooby Snacks.
Scooby Snacks. Okay.
Fun-loving criminals.
There you go.
All right, let me show this.
Getting high on my Scooby Snacks.
Oh my goodness. There we go. Scooby Snacks it is, guys. Get your hashtags in. We'll do this. We'll give it like 4 or 5 minutes. Scooby Snacks. Get them in. So, Rich, other than, I know you're a journalist now. So what else are you doing? Is that it?
I'm covering a bunch of stuff. I have a bunch of websites. I have the Family Court Circus, which I do the family court stuff. I have a bunch of stuff coming out on that. I have the New York News Press, which I talk about New York politics, New York news. So I'm writing stuff about city council races, about the mayor race with Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo, and writing about all sorts of general interest stuff in New York area. The Florida Gulf News, I'm writing a lot about this story on Florida Gulf News. Also the Danesh story because it's in the Fort Myers court. So anything with Florida, I write on that site. Plus I have my Substack, which ties it all together on the Substack. On my Substack, I throw in a New American Golden Age, which is my Trump, column. So I do stuff on Trump where I highlight good stuff happening with the Trump administration. And I have a lot of people who love Trump that read it, and I have a lot of people that hate Trump. I probably have more people that hate Trump that read me regularly on there. So
right.
Yeah, it is what it is. But
So,
Rich, he'd settle with you, have a non-disclosure in hopes of winning against others who are not as law educated. He could, but if he did that to me, it would kind of be like Braveheart, where they come out and they send that these are the terms. I said, well, before we let you leave, you're going to present the head of your army is going to present himself before this army, put his head between his legs and kiss his own arse. And then he's going to walk back to England and apologize to every house along the way for 100 years of rape, theft, and murder. Then we'll let you. It's going to be one of those situations. There's nothing that he can give me at this point that I can't take from him. I have that feeling. I can take a lot from him right now. He opened himself up and he exposed his belly, and I can take from him, and I'm just going to take it. Why? Because I can. And why? Because it's probably the right thing. It's probably this is a just cause now in this sense.
Right.
I'm not taking from somebody who is, who needs it. I'm taking from somebody who deserves to should take it from him.
Right. Right. Cool.
Rich,
Andrew, you still there?
Rich, I say we open a bar in Orlando, New York style.
No.
Have you ever heard of Gin Mill in New York?
Dude, I used to hang out at the gin mill up on the Upper West Side.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I went to Columbia. What do you think we're gonna
Dude,
hang out?
my brother was part owner of that.
That place was a cool spot. The gin mill was there. They had Bourbon Street. They had a bunch of spots up there.
Yeah.
Like every one of them.
Steven was and his buddy was the owners of that.
That's a good bar, man. That's a really good bar.
He was the bartender there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He probably served me drinks because I spent a lot of hours in bars. In my old life, I spent a lot of hours in bars, you know?
Yeah. The gin mill was awesome.
Gin mill's a cool spot, yeah.
Question: if one of the 10 sued asks for discovery or put in a motion, do the 9 others wait for the answers?
Well, here's the point. There's a bunch of issues structurally with the complaint, right? And so if you plead the right way and put in an answer, like there's 2 ways to respond to the lawsuit. Once you get served, you have 21 days to either file an answer or to file a motion to dismiss based on one of the reasons why it needs to be dismissed. So one of the things you could do is they did the more definite statement under Rule 8 that's not pled correctly, and then they get to amend. The other one is a Rule 12 motion that says this has to be dismissed for one of several reasons: a jurisdictional reason or a failure to state a claim, which means that even if we assume everything that Jeremy says is true, he still loses because he's not stating something that the law allows you to get relief for. Now, if you could do a motion and you could do that, then you have motions. So it's going to be you file a motion, then they respond, and then you do a reply, and then you got to go in front of the judge, and then you got to wait for a decision, and blah 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 blah. That's months. That's like 2 months, easy to
right
there. You file the answer right away, and you file a counterclaim right away, but you put in all the defenses that you would interpose in a motion to dismiss. You still reserve your right to make those motions, but you're just expediting the discovery process.
Right.
So that's the point. And he's obligated to either give you discovery or give reasons why he's not giving you discovery. So you get past the you're gonna save some time, because let's say you do it the first way and you do the motions. 2 months from now, 3 months from now, they says fine. You lose the motion to dismiss, and the case is going to go into discovery. And then he files his answer. You have 20 days to file your answer, and then he files the answer. Then you get hit him with discovery. Then you're adding 3 months to the time that he's going to dilly dally around to give you your discovery responses. So
right.
With my strategy, it actually gets discovery happening a little quicker. It's still going to be a few months of dilly dally in between, no matter what, because it's law. But you want to get him to the point where he has to start giving up materials and producing materials and reviewing his materials and figuring out, because he has a lot of material. He doesn't realize it. And it's going to have to probably going to have to get done with a third party vendor, like a company that comes and, takes his hard drive and takes his phones and takes this and takes that and hands it to him, and then gives him those key terms that they do. And it's going to be a lot of discovery. He's not going to have control over that much discovery, because Shaka's not going to be able to review it all. He's sure as hell not going to be able to review it all because he's stupid. And the stuff that's going to be delivered, that's going to be very detrimental to him, because he's not going to have the time to go through it. Particularly if a few people start filing motions, and he's responding to motions, and he's got a discovery request potentially at the same time, and there's all this other stuff. He might ask to stay discovery. And there's a whole bunch of different things he can do. But we want to get him.
Now, so let's say you do that, right? Do the 9 others wait for an answer for your discovery, like whatever motion you may have filed?
I'm not gonna. Well, that's the point. I don't want to file a motion.
Okay.
I want to file I do want to file a motion. I want to file an anti-SLAPP motion, like an anti-SLAPP counterclaim, and then under the anti-SLAPP counterclaim, you have a motion under the law to see if the case is frivolous and it violates anti-SLAPP right away. You have a hearing, and pursuant to that hearing, you get discovery, right? So that's what I kind of want. I want to get discovery as quickly as I can. So if you file a motion to dismiss saying that there's no claim, it doesn't. You haven't put in an answer yet or a counterclaim. If I just put in my answer and counterclaim, reserve my rights to throw the thing out, but put in the slap lawsuit, that's the quickest way for me to A, get discovery from them, and B, get them to a posture where it can get thrown out. That's what I'd rather do.
Right.
So it wouldn't be a wait. It would be a parallel track. The judge would have to deal with everybody else first. But the judge may very well take mine up quickly and say, okay, this is a great way to get rid of this case under anti-slap.
Right. Right.
But the other point is that I'll have discovery at that point.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
But you don't know what he's going to do. He might turn around and ask for a protective order for everything. He might turn around and,
And what would the protective order entail?
That would say that nobody can disclose the discovery to anybody else.
Okay. Interesting.
But the problem becomes then, everybody here's a content creator. Everybody involved in the case is, to a certain extent. Therefore, you have a First Amendment issue there. The other part I have is that, to the extent that I'm a journalist, I have journalist privilege. So if he starts asking for a whole bunch of different things, there are some things that are going to be protected by journalist privilege. So that's going to be a privilege issue we have to resolve. There's a lot of issues here, but I like getting to the.
Well, I do investigative reporting.
There you go. You have journalist privilege for other people too. So you can't take your whole hard drive. There's going to be a lot of issues.
Well, I also do other work for other companies that he doesn't have privilege to. So they're not going to take my whole hard drive.
Yeah. Well, they might want you to put it through a vendor. Who knows? I just don't. I don't know where it's going to go. But we'll see.
Okay. All right. Did everybody get their hashtags in? We got 102. 102. I say we do it. What do you say? I say we do it. Get it done. Get it. Each defendant has to file on their own.
Well, everybody should file an anti-slap. And I believe that. I believe everybody should. Look, there's something to be said about filing the Rule 8 to get more definite statement, because I think that this one's still a shotgun. There's something to be said about Rule 12b-6 to say that this is a, it should get thrown out by the court and dismissed immediately. But I really think that the best strategy for everybody, it would be to file an answer, reserve the right to do all your jurisdictional defenses, like the jurisdiction and subject matter jurisdiction and 12b-6, all the Rule 12 stuff. But get the anti-slap.
Oh, that's another question I wanted to ask. Being that it's filed in the Northern District of Florida, Gainesville, everybody has to go to Gainesville?
Yes.
Everybody that's in Florida has to go to Gainesville.
Everybody everywhere has to go to Gainesville. Anybody gets served on the case has to go to Gainesville. Even if you don't think you should be in that the court, even if you don't think there's jurisdiction, you have to file a motion in Gainesville. That's the first court you have to go to. Yeah.
I mean, like, appearing in court. Do they have to appear in court?
You may. The judge might allow for a Zoom, but you're going to have to show up at court eventually. The judge can always order you to court for the next appearance.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Each person should file an anti-slap. Oh, I agree. 100%. 100%. All right, let's do this. So we got 104, and we are going to be drawing here, right? 105. 106. All right, so people are still entering. Get them in. I'm getting ready to hit that button.
If you don't want to win, enter and give it to me.
Yes, this is for commentary and educational purposes only. This is not legal advice.
Yes, for educational entertainment purposes and for litigation privilege.
Yeah,
litigation privilege.
The title of tonight's show. All right, 106. That's a good number. Kathleen's. Let's do this first. But she wants to know if you have to wait to be served to file the anti-slap.
Well, no, not if you make the anti-slap part of your counterclaim. Like I said before, yesterday and before, is that you can consent to the jurisdiction of the court. If they file it with your name on it, you can answer and file a counterclaim and bring an anti-slap. and you don't have to get served. That's, I think, might be calling their bluff, because, like, for me, they said I'm in Staten Island, New York. I'm not in Staten Island, New York. I'm in Florida. And I could go to the court, I could answer it, and I could start the timeline moving, and I could take control over the timelines where they didn't expect me to answer. You know, they didn't serve me, they didn't want things to move, and you know what? You've locked horns now without control. The other thing I was thinking about doing is suing him in Florida, but where I live, and suing him in the Middle District of Florida, only because he's caused harm in the state of Florida by his filing in and of itself. And I would file an anti-SLAPP claim, my own independent claim, independent of this lawsuit, in the Middle District in Fort Myers, where I live, and just sue Jeremy down here to make it a thing for him. So I was thinking about that too.
Right. Now he's saying, like, everybody, this is all illegal. This is all illegal. Everyone's going to jail. This one's going to jail. That one's going to jail.
Nobody's going to jail, Lisa. How does somebody go to jail in a cil case?
Well, that's what I say.
Fucking moron. That's what it
is. All right, so we're still at 106. Let's get this going. I'm hitting draw now. Here we go. Let's see. Kathy, Nikki. Oh my gosh, this goes so fast. Marla, Patty, I have questions. Kellen, Mary, my mama, Lynette. What's up, my mama? My mama 3 times. I saw her 3 times and she won. My mama, whoop whoop. Wow, I think she got hers in there the very last second. Nice, very nice. I have your address, right, my mama? Yeah, I believe so. I believe I do. Congratulations. Oh my goodness. And Gabe actually has a message for some people. Gabe has a message for some people who are getting their giveaways. Just saying, you'll see it when you get it. Oh my goodness. Alrighty, guys. Thank you all so much. Rich, thank you so much for coming on here and just letting us know what's going on.
Amen, Rich.
I think that I'd like to follow more of the Danesh case that's going on with you too.
Go to my either my Substack or my FLGulf.news.com, FLGulf.news, and just type in Danesh, and all the articles will come up. This guy's a really bad dude. He docks the Supreme Court of the United States, and you just don't do that. You don't put public servants at risk. I don't care what your politics are.
I don't care. I don't know how he got away with that.
Because he got away with it because Merrick Garland didn't prosecute anybody for all that stuff that happened in the wake of adopts, because it was seen as protest. It was seen as protected by free speech. But you're crossing the line from free speech to harassment when you use simulation, AI, and all this other stuff to go out there. I don't think Jeremy has followers, and I know Danesh doesn't have followers to the extent that they claim that they do. They're using AI and automated scripts and everything else to generate and simulate engagement. And
yes, I believe that's going on over there.
If that happens, then that's in court dishonesty, and that dishonesty becomes harassment, and it's not protected by the First Amendment. And then when you do that, people should be held accountable. You could be criminally liable at that point, for activities. And if you're attacking federal officials, if you're attacking, government officials of any sort, but if you're talking private citizens to a certain extent, that should be, it becomes harassment. If you called up the police station once, twice, 3 times, they'll be nice to you. But if you keep calling over the same thing, they're going to say, sir, madam, if you call up again, we're going to make a report against you for utilizing police resources. So when they have 20 or 30 people call up, but it's a simulated situation. It's the same person calling 30 times. After about 5 calls, that person is subject to a crime. And every time after the 5th call, it's really their call. It's just another crime. So if 30 people call, it could be 5 calls and then 25 crimes on top of that. If you look at it that way, that's what we're getting at here. What point does it cross the speech threshold and become harassment? When does it cross the speech threshold because it's fraud from the very beginning? That's the situation.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. Alrighty, guys. We are going to sign off. It's getting late. Got to work tomorrow. So thank you so much for hanging out and supporting us. And I want to thank all of our mods and definitely go check them out. And also definitely check out Richard and Michael's podcast tomorrow, the Unknown Podcast. Usually what time is it up, Richard?
Usually put it up by like 1 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, and then I'll post it because I've been doing that. So definitely check that out. And again, thank you guys. Tori will be live tomorrow. Robbie will be live tomorrow at 5:30. And then Tori will be on. I will not be on tomorrow night unless there's some miraculous, thing in the court. But I think the court is going to be sitting for a little bit, at least till Friday, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I will be back on Thursday at 10. And again, thank you so much. And you guys rock. Say goodnight, everybody. Richard, hang out here.
Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Richard, hang out.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Say good night, Tori. Kendra? I think she's still hanging. I'm not sure.
Kendra's muted.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. God bless and prayers.
Ta-ta.
Toodaloo.